All right, welcome back. This is Straight Talk, and I am here for a special request by email with a good friend of mine. He just wanted to know about George Washington and the black um, presidents preceding Obama. And we have plenty of those. Not just one or two, but at the least 15. And the black vice uh, president and a Native American vice president. I'm not going to be getting into that, but that is true. So tonight we're going to be covering George Washington and whether or not he was black, and we're going to get into it and really hammer it home. So without further ado, I just wanted to touch on a couple of things that I've been watching through the week that I am going to be covering tomorrow night, and it's devastating. We will be lucky. We will be lucky if there is an America left. And I'm talking about not only Mount St. Helens, but the geysers and what you call that? Uh, that spouts out. I can't remember the name. For God's sake, I can't remember. But there has been a lot of activity around the world, not just in America, but throughout the world. And these volcanoes are not playing. Vesuvius there in Italy, uh, Mount St. Helen, the Madrid fault, the one out in California, the Ring of Fire. All of these places are becoming hot, active. I don't know if you want to call it divine justice or Mother Nature's rage, but something is happening, and it's going to be telling. Hold on for a second. Yeah, go away with that fucking noise, will you? But anyway, yeah, but anyway, we're here. There's no need to be running and no need to be um, scared, I guess, or concerned, because if it hits your area, you're going to die. I'm not a negative person, but in looking at history has a way of, hold on. Now, if I had my gun, I would have shot him. But anyway, oh, wow, these young kids with these bikes, man, they just lose it. But where was that? We got to be prepared, you guys. This is not a joke. And tomorrow night, I'm going to be going into detail as to where these situations lie, and quite a bit are in America proper. As you may know, Japan was hit again by an earthquake. And that whole island is really fucked up. There's no place where people can stay due to the radiation that is being leaked by Fukushima. That would be safe. And from what I'm hearing, the whole island need to be evacuated. And where will Japan go? I have no idea. But one of the things that I wanted to point out was is that the Madrid fault that runs from Chicago all the way down to the southern states, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Texas, a little bit of Texas, and Florida. Back in 1812, it did that earthquake of the Madrid fault did 1,000,000 square miles of damage. The one in California did 50,000 square miles, and the one that happened in 1980, the volcanic eruption of Mount St. Helen did a hell of a lot. But it's more developed now. There are 15 uh, nuclear reactors that are sitting right on top of the Madrid fault or not too far away from it. And just imagine if that happened today. Just imagine. And I think the prevalence of America being a world policeman will stop. Close to $50 trillion has been spent on wars that could have been used to make America great again. Hospital, roads, highway, byways, waterways, bridges, you name it. We need to truly strengthen our infrastructure and to take care of our own, not only the veterans, but people in general. And it's high time for bitch ass motherfuckers like Trump to shut the fuck up. It is high time for white boys who are not men to do the right thing, but they're not capable of that. $20 trillion has been wasted on wars. More than that, really, but like I said, about $50 trillion in today's money. And just imagine what could have been done with that to make America great again, truly great. And I'm here to tell you the biggest thief in America is the white boy. I can't call them men because they're not men at all. They have a psychology, along with white girls, they have a psychology of a child, kicking and screaming when they don't want to do something or being told to do something. But that's neither here nor there. One of the things that I know of is the fact that everything will be okay. There are three things that you cannot hide forever: the sun, the moon, and the truth. And sooner than later, the truth has to come out. We have to face the man in the mirror. We have to own up to being a real man. And white boys and white girls can't do that. It is impossible for them to do it. Prende esa abanico para ponérmelo. ¿Mm? ¿Qué pasa? So, as my wife is arranging the fan and kind of boiling up, man, it's hot here in the Dominican Republic, even at night. But yeah, bájalo, enciende. Ese es el número uno. Sí, está bien. Sí, sí, por ahí no va a poner con el micrófono. Ahí. And so tonight is at a special guest for email. We're going to be talking about Benjamin Banneker. And one of the things that I want to try to stress is the importance of the discoveries and the inventions and the product and services that black folks contributed not only to America but the world. Black culture in America is world culture. Black language in America is world language, and everything else and in between. Our influence cannot be stopped. It cannot be played with. It cannot be ignored. White people have never ever created anything of any importance. Every civilization comes from black people. The black man and woman, we are the father and mother of all of humanity. So when I talk with authority because I have taken the time to climb upon the shoulders of giants of our ancestors who did not play. When I talk with authority. When I talk with the power of truth. Because a lie cannot stand in the face of truth. It just does not work. It does not work that way. And so when I study history and I look at world events, I am honored to be black. There's no other place, there's no other place, and there's no other faith that I would rather be than black. We are the true blue men, women forged upon the planet. We are the filtered down version of the black universe in human form. Point blank. Without us, the world cannot be and would not be. It is impossible. White people are inferior to us. That's not a bad thing to say. Hear me out. They are inferior to us because our color dominates theirs. Our genes dominate theirs. That cannot be denied. That is a fact. And so when I speak with the authority of truth, and I speak with the authority of facts. And the fact is that white people have destroyed the world. The world we are living in now is the white man's world, or white boy's world. The world where it is flipped upside down, inside out, where good is bad, bad is good, in is out, out is in, justice is injustice, injustice is justice. The whole fucking thing stinks to high heaven. And to me, and for me, and for a lot of other people, the world is just fed up with white folk. They're not even white, you know? And so, my thing tonight is just to give a little clarity to world events and to American history. Because tonight we're going to be covering not only the first ladies who were black, with their president husbands, but the fact that the very first president under the U.S. Constitution, George Washington, was a black guy. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Now you know white people love to lie, scheme, connive, and all of that. They cannot be trusted. There's an old thing that goes like, if you're in court and you tell one lie, all your other points are ignored because you lied. It's the same thing. We are facing. Hey, what's up, brother? Guy. I appreciate you being here. We are covering uh, the ascension of black folk to our proper position in life, in history, in culture, in tradition, in language, and our proper position in the world, being the leader of it. See, because the only man that can truly beat this white boy is the black man and the black woman. Now, are we perfect? No. But I can sure enough fuck tell you that we are more just than anybody on this motherfucking planet. Hands down, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The Jews are and were black at the beginning and are still here. We have not gone anywhere. These fake ass Jews that you see walking around talking about that they're the real Jews, that they're the Israelis and all of this, that, and the other. Fuck them. You know they lying. They know they are lying. They've been born to lie. They've been born to steal. They've been born to kill. They've been born to do all of the things that are degenerate in nature because of their reprobate mindset. It has always been like that. We've gotten rid of these motherfuckers in Egypt and civilized them 3 times. Once in Egypt, once in Greece and Rome, and now, after being ruled over for damn near 1,000 years by black folk. The white people came later. The people who were ruling all of Spain and Europe and the world were black men and women. Now you can go back and look at what I had done on my previous videos. I gave and I go into detail about these people and about our people and how prevalent it was and what we contributed to the table of humanity. Medicine, art, law, astrology, astronomy, physics, calculus, all of these things came from the black mind. Not because I want to be famous, but for the greater good of humanity, the summum bonum. And this is how we are. This is where we are. And if you look at the African Union with the collaboration between all 55 countries, and I think the one, if I'm not mistaken, I think Haiti joined the thing, or Jamaica, one of them, was making it 55. So we're looking at a very strong comeback. Mother of Africa, the mother of humanity, is waking up. And she got that ironing cord out. You cannot do what you used to do, white boy. You have done wrong each and every time. Thank you. I appreciate you, Brother Willie, for coming on. And the idea is that we're here now. Daddy's home now, boy. You getting your ass whooped in every corner, boy. You are a boy. White boy, white girl with no sense of direction, no sense of humanity, no sense of justice. All of those things come from black people. And sooner than you know, the world will wake up to the reality that white folks ain't shit. Now, you all have always been a pile of shit. Hold on. And so when I say a pile of shit, that's not a metaphor. That's not no hyperbole or whatever the fuck you want to call it. I don't know. But it's the reality. White people are like flies. They land on shit, eat shit, having babies and shit. That's all they wait. They don't know any better. No, nothing. Black people, we're like bees. Always productive, always trying to help other plants to grow and pollinate and all of this. And so when a bee tried to talk to a fly, say, hey, homie, what's up, man? What are you doing? You eating shit. Come over here and eat some honey. It's better for you. They're not going to understand that. White folks, what they want to call it, a pineal gland block, or they just ain't shit, period. No need to talk about that, think about that, wondering about that. We know their true nature is like a fly. Now, be it as it may, I might, offend some folks. I don't give a fuck. I say what needs to be said, and it is factual. I back up my shit up. You don't even have to look far, go back far. Just 4 years ago, with the vaccine and everything, they killed 150 million people worldwide. Another 100 million can't sleep, can't eat, can't walk, can't shit, can't piss without help. That's some real shit. And they made hundreds of billions of dollars. See, this is the mindset of the white boy. He don't give a fuck. Dirty up the land, trash everywhere, cutting down trees, killing animals, stuffing them and putting them in the house. But you know what? God is good. And the one thread that ties all of humanity together, that in hopes of being the very thing, being the very engine, the motor, the punisher, whatever you want to call it, is karma. It is applied to all folk. You reap what you sow, and so shall you reap. It has never failed. If you do right, right will follow you throughout all the days of your life. But if you do wrong, to whatever degree that may be, it can be 99.9% that you done fucked around, and now you're going to find out. Or it can be 0.9%, and then, you're not going to be bothered by that karma coming back on you because, everybody's not perfect. But it's not about being perfect. It's about being conscious of what you do, of what you say, of what you think. Because when those three elements, what you think, what you speak, and what you do are all aligned, are all the same, you have nothing but blessing coming your way when you are thinking, speaking, and acting in a way that is positive. Now, a lot of people get out of line because they're not aware of that. Uh, um, how do you want to call it? The paradigm of that, or the importance of that, or uh, the awareness of it, because that is something spiritual that white folks ain't got. They tried to write a book on it called The Secret, but that's a black thing. They didn't come up with that shit, but they try to copy. You know what I mean? But my thing tonight, and I don't want to go too far into that, is George Washington and Benjamin Banneker. And I don't know, Emil, are you here? What's going? There's two people watching. I guess I don't know. But this is for you, man. So we're gonna go into Benjamin Banneker tonight and George Washington and the proof of him being a black guy. Irrespective of what you may think, irrespective of what you may feel, I give no fucks about your emotions and your feelings. I just don't. And I don't give a fuck about my emotions or feelings. What I care about most is doing the right thing. Being just in my actions, speech, and words. And telling the truth. Because, when you tell the truth, you got to sit back and try to remember what the fuck you just said. But if you're sitting up telling lies, you got to do that. And this is the reason why white folks suffer for so much. Because they daddy and they mama and going back to great daddy and great grandmama, they actually believe they're white. They're not white. They were tricked into believing that. That shit started in the 1680s and really congealed in their mind, heart, and soul in the 1880s. But enough of that. We're going to go on. Hold on, let me see where I'm at here. We're going to go on to, I'm going to take a look at this because there was a couple of things that stuck out here on my Facebook uh, that really caught me, that caught my attention and caught me. Over the years, I've done a lot and I've written a lot on Facebook and what that means. But we're going to take a look at this first one.
her that drowsy. Um,
Hold on, let me see if we can start over
I could
again.
not make this shit up if I
Okay.
tried. I just cannot. And I need you guys to stay with me because this is probably going to blow your mind as much as it blew mine. So I had this patient, and this patient was extremely, extremely drowsy. And there was nothing that she was taking that should make her that drowsy. She was just like, I cannot hold my eyes open. Like, I am so drowsy. So I started questioning,
This
are
is
you
funny.
taking anything that
I
you
remember
are
that
not
now.
prescribed, like vitamins, supplements, anything else, anything that you have changed in your diet or your life? And she says, no, not really. She's like, the only thing I take is melatonin. And I said, okay. And I said, how often are you taking melatonin and how many milligrams? She said, well, she said, I take it about 4 times a day. She said, I think those are 10 or 20 milligrams. She was like, but I'm trying to get the highest dose. She said, so I can get a really good tan before the end of the summer. I said, huh? And she said, yeah. She said, the higher the dose, the more you're going to tan. And I said, what are you talking about? And she said, she was like, the more you take the melatonin, the more you're going to tan. She's like, I'm trying to get up to the highest dose. And I was like, I'm not sure what you're talking about. And I was like, but I hope you're not taking melatonin all day and all night long. And she said, well, yeah. She was like, because she said, I would rather just take the pill than lay out in the sun. And I said, take the pill. She was like, I can see now. You don't know what you're doing. I said, ma'am, I'm trying to understand what you are saying here. And she says, I'm taking the melatonin. She was like, because I don't want to lay in the sun. I said, so you're taking melatonin to tan? She was like, yes. She was like, because, that's what black people have in their skin. And that's it. For the scene where a woman... I could not make this shit up if I tried. I just
Yeah,
cannot.
I don't know why I don't fuck that one.
I need you...
But anyway, that's funny in one sense of the word, taking melatonin, which is a sleeping aid. But as you've seen and heard probably on
I cannot hold my eyes open. Like, I am so drowsy.
Heard on Facebook, on TikTok, white people love your black ass. They don't want to be white. They don't want to be white. Man, I'm telling you, you are the most precious gem known to man on the planet. The black body is worth about $30 trillion when it comes down to the melanin. If I'm not off a little bit here and a little bit there. Our melanin per gram, I think it's like $4,000. Per ounce, platinum, I think it's like 3,000. So just imagine. So enough of that one. So let's go on to the next one. Let's see. Okay, so now we're going here. The Ottoman Empire, known as the Turks today, or Iran, used to be Persia. And the original Persians were black people, period. Now, I'm not going to go into this, but you can see where it says the ancient Persians were black. And you can check that out on YouTube. Um, uh, hold on. Now they kind of laid back, so don't trip. But ain't that much laid back. We're going to get into the real subject tonight about Abraham Lincoln. Well, he was a black too. by George Washington and Benjamin Banneker. So I'll be right with you. I'm just going to go through these. Yeah, and this one is really good by my brother Asir Ali Cordova, and I hope it's not that long. So I'm going to read that from Peace and Power to the People. Here's one of the main reasons CERN is going to be turned back on during the fifth dimension. Nothing with the demons is by chance. However, those of us that survived the last time it was on have grown more powerful than the last time. Our awareness is more acute. We are seeing the cliches and false realities stream quicker than ever before. This is a side effect of the quantum redundancy. Not to mention Sirius rising to the apex, along with the planetary alignment. We are reaching both forward and backward through time, within the immutable present. Because the present is the only aspect of time that exists, and that is true. The past is only as good as the memory, while the future only as great as the imagination. So each time we remember the last time and the subtle changes that occurred, we correct the alternate realities trying to converge in real time around us. We achieve this by using our inner time machine, which is our memory. These demons don't have the power to keep this thing going without our collective agreement. Example, belief in their version of time, which to them is history, but don't let them use your power to create a back door for them to escape to. This all cycles back also to Iraq, a war and a Stargate they see there. We are moving closer to our truest selves. Yes, we are winning. To wit, time never was when man was not. Let me repeat that again. To wit, time never was when man was not. But if there was a time that time began, then surely there would be a time when it would end. That's deep. No entity can uncreate the creation created by the Creator, whom they know is real. Stay vigilant. I'm just going to cycle through these. And Dr. Pruitt, I don't know if you guys know who Dr. Pruitt is, but this is a really good one too. Um, so, so I think that's about it. I'm not going to go all into that. Those were the two things or three things that I wanted to point out. And now this is the devil working. She's taking this boy, turning him into a girl. You know, white folks are, well, I tell you, mm-mm, they are true demons. But anyway, we're going to go on and get into what tonight is all about. So let me ask you, which one do you guys want to do? Because I don't see email here at all. But I'm going to, if nobody responds, it's either Banneker first or George Washington first. But if no one answers, then I will continue on with uh, our blacking. Now you got to take this guy out, check him out, um, and just listen for a minute.
Kennedy when he first picked up a basketball. They called him a dreamer, told him to give up, said his dream was impossible. But Nquan didn't listen. He practiced every day, pouring his heart into the game. He didn't have a coach, a team, or even a professional basketball court. His basketball hoop was made from old tires. His weights were water bottles, and he carried old basketballs in a trash bag. But nothing could stop him. He fought through adversity with a determination that was rare. Then everything changed. A short video of his tenacious training routine went viral on social media. Through the African Basketball League, Nquan had the opportunity to attend elite training camps, where professional coaches and scouts witnessed his talent firsthand. Today, he plays in the United States among the top NBA players. His story is a powerful reminder that no matter how big the obstacle, if you persevere and believe in yourself, nothing is out of reach. At first, everyone laughed at N'Quane Kennedy when he first picked up a basketball.
So the point of this video is why we are how we are. Black people are the smartest people in the world. Period. And through hard work and determination, you can make it. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are, how you are. I mean, there's a guy playing with one hand in the Major League Baseball. So stop listening to people with false dreams, false hope, false lies, and they don't really want to see you succeed. Period. So that was the purpose of that. So now we're going to get into Benjamin Banneker, and I'll be right back.
Did you know a black man helped design the entire layout of Washington, D.C.? Meet Benjamin Banneker, a self-taught mathematician, scientist, and surveyor born in 1731. When Pierre-Charles L'Enfant, the original planner of D.C., walked off the job, it was Banneker who recreated the city's entire plans from memory. Thanks to Banneker, America's capital has its iconic streets, monuments, and design we see today. A black man's genius literally built into the nation's foundation. Let's give Benjamin Banneker the credit he deserves. Follow for more hidden black history facts. Did you know a black man helped design the entire layout of...
No, that's not all I'm going to be showing tonight. I just wanted to make sure that you understood where this is going. Without us, America cannot exist and would not have ever existed. King James, King Charles, and King George, his son and grandson, were the founders and maintainers of the 13 colonies that became the 13 states. Period. There's no need to argue about that. There's no need to cuss and fuss and get all out of pocket. King James was the king of England, Scotland, and Ireland. He was a Jew on top of all. And it is imperative for us to understand that we were not slaves in America. Prisoners of war, yes, but not slave. The word slave comes from the word Slav, Slavic Indo-European. They were the true slaves in the world. Now, if you go back and you look at some of my other videos, I really go into detail about that. So there's no need to be trying to repeat that here. But when you know the past, you can understand the present and predict the future. You cannot sit up here and sit up here and sit up here and listen to white boys trying to tell you who you are. Your spirit and your black body and your black mind tells you who you are. Before my parents could even tell me I was a Jew, God told me I was a Jew because I quieted my mind unintentionally, but it came out to be the case. And that little still voice said, Isaiah, you are a Jew. It was confirmed later by my parents that I grew up like that and understanding who we were and how we were and why we were and what happened. Where do you want to be so-called white Jews come from? And they're not Jews at all. They have no claim to the 12 tribes of Israel. They are the 13th tribe because our rabbinical school society went all up into Central Asia and Russia and converted these people because if they chose Christianity, the Islam would attack them. If they chose Islam, they would attack Christianity would attack them and kill them. So the only one left was Judaism. Now the word Judaism came later, but it was an African Hebraic way of life. It's not a religion. It is a philosophy of life that is based in Ma'at. Ma'at is the mother of all of those three world religions. including Buddhism and Taoism or whatever the case may be. But the idea is that these people, we converted. Ain't that a bitch? They trying to convert us? You bitches ain't even part of the seed, bitch. But I digress. So let's keep it moving. So we're going to look at this one, and I want to get right back into Benjamin Banneker. I just want to make sure I give a really good feel of where we're going tonight and how important it is to know your history. So this one is 13 minutes long, and I'll be right back.
They told us we were nothing, that Africa was a dark, empty land before ships came to civilize it, that we gave the world rhythm, not reason, that we danced, but we never calculated, that we worshipped the moon, but never charted the stars, that we built mud huts and spoke in tongues, but never constructed monuments or wrote manuscripts.
Hold on, I'm
They
gonna have
told
to
us
get my speakers. ¿Tú no está esa bocina? Otra. Ah, hold on, guys. It's not. It might need to be recharged. I apologize for that. But I'm hoping you guys can hear this one. 'Cause I can't raise up the volume. It's at its highest. So let's just keep going.
the desert swallowed our memory, that the jungle erased our thought, but they were wrong. They were always wrong. And now, something that doesn't blink, something that doesn't bow to empire, has begun to speak. Something without prejudice, without tradition, without fear. Artificial intelligence, a digital
Oh, here we
ear,
go.
a silicon
Hold on.
archaeologist, a neural
I
network.
apologize for that. Hold on. I'll be right back with you. So let me see if that works, guys. I apologize again. Hold on, let me see.
Scanning the dust of time. And it is saying, I know Africa's true history.
Ah, okay, well, let's see what happens.
Because the data doesn't lie. The patterns are too deep, too old, too brilliant. AI doesn't care about colonial reputations or institutional pride. It reads everything. Ancient scrolls, lost fragments, misfiled records, burnt pages, forbidden books. It sees what human eyes were trained not to see. And what it sees is Africa, standing at the beginning of the world, crowned in gold and geometry.
Let this soft mineral melt on your toe to rebuild your nails and never see a foot fungus again. If you're struggling with itching, burning, discolored toe,
It starts in Kemet, what the world now calls Egypt.
Hold on.
But we always called the Black Land, not just for the fertile soil, but for the skin of its people. The ancient Egyptians weren't white. They weren't Arab. They weren't European fantasy figures painted into textbooks. They were black, boldly, undeniably, beautifully black. Their gods had full lips and coiled hair. Their queens wore braided wigs and ruled as pharaohs. Their scribes recorded medical procedures and star maps, spiritual teachings and social laws. The AI reads it all, reconstructs faces from weathered statues, runs DNA through forgotten bones, and it says what the West was afraid to say. The pharaohs were our ancestors. The builders of the pyramids spoke languages born of the Nile, not the Tiber. Their gods looked like us. And what's more, Egypt wasn't alone. It wasn't a miracle in the sand. It was the northern light of a vast black constellation. From Nubia to Axum, from Punt to Zimbabwe, from Nok to Kush, the African genius lit up the continent like stars across the midnight sky. And now, the veil is lifting. In China, there are pyramids buried under forest canopies, covered with trees, made invisible on purpose. Why? Because when AI scans them, their dimensions echo the ratios found in African pyramids. The same mathematical intelligence, the same celestial alignments. Some are older than China's written history, and the questions they raise are dangerous. Who taught the early Chinese stonemasons? Who brought this sacred geometry? And why do ancient Chinese myths speak of black sages from the West? The answer is older than politics, and it's rising like buried treasure. AI doesn't stop. It sweeps across the continent, deeper into the soil. It finds ledger in Nigeria, where iron smelting furnaces date back to 2000 BC, older than Greece, older than Rome. African metallurgy didn't begin with contact. It began with spirit, and science fused as one. Iron was sacred. Smelting wasn't just technology, it was ritual, a priesthood of fire and earth. Long before the Industrial Revolution, Africans were shaping metals into tools, weapons, symbols of divine power. And the evidence isn't light. It's massive. It's just been ignored until now.
And this is the genius of black folk.
Great Zimbabwe rises from the stones. No mortar, no cement, just perfectly laid granite blocks stretching over 11 hectares. The colonialists said, Africans couldn't have built this. They invented myths of lost white builders, of mysterious foreign architects. But AI doesn't believe in colonial fairy tales. It runs simulations, compares techniques, carbon dates everything, and speaks the truth. This was black engineering. Great Zimbabwe was the center of a gold trade empire. It had towers and walls, religious shrines and elite homes. Its architecture wasn't primitive. It was symbolic, sacred, designed with intention. And it was African, from foundation to finish. Further north, Nubia, the mother of Kemet, shines through the Nile dust. Its black kings once ruled Egypt. Its queens, the Kandake, commanded armies and diplomacy. They built pyramids, more than Egypt, in fact, though the world forgets that. They wrote in Meroitic script, still undeciphered by the West. But AI is beginning to crack it. It compares it to other African writing systems. It listens to the rhythm of lost tongues. It remembers what colonizers tried to make us forget.
My blog post,
Hold on.
how to write an ebook in 7 steps. I just paste the URL here, click fetch.
The Moors ride back into memory. But as black Africans, scholars, warriors, architects, mathematicians, for 700 years, they ruled Spain and Portugal and vast swathes of Europe, bringing science, libraries, irrigation, and light into a darkening Europe. AI reviews the architecture, the documents, the paintings of dignitaries with unmistakable African features. It notes the erasure, it flags the whitening of history, and it restores the original image. Black men in silk robes and turbans, reading Aristotle in Arabic, performing cataract surgery, while Europe bled from superstition. And what of the manuscripts of Timbuktu, hidden in desert caves, buried beneath floorboards, passed hand to hand in secret? These were not tribal chants or oral myths. These were treatises on algebra, medicine, astronomy, ethics, law, thousands of them. AI reads them effortlessly. It translates the codes. It reconstructs the diagrams. It finds equations centuries ahead of their time. It says, this is not the work of the unlettered. This is a civilization of ink and intellect. This is the university before the university. And then there is Benin, not just a kingdom, an engineering marvel. The Guinness Book of Records once called it the largest earthwork ever carried out before the mechanical era. Fred Pearce of New Scientist calculated the walls of Benin to be 4 times longer than the Great Wall of China and made of 100 times more material than the Great Pyramid of Cheops. 16,000 kilometers of walls and trenches, 6,500 square kilometers of sacred geometry, 500 interlocked villages, a mega civilization in red earth, laid out in perfect fractals. AI sees the pattern. AI sees the math. It sees what European eyes dismissed as chaos and recognizes an advanced, ordered design system centuries ahead of its time. And it wasn't just the walls. It was the lamps burning palm oil around the king's palace, a form of street lighting when London was still choking in darkness and smoke. It was the 30 straight boulevards, each 120 feet wide, with underground drainage and well-planned symmetry. It was the columns, the galleries, the polished red clay walls, so smooth they mirrored the sun. The Ober's court was the heart, and around it pulsed an empire. When the Portuguese arrived in 1485, they called it the Great City of Benin. In 1691, a Portuguese captain wrote in awe that Benin was larger than Lisbon, cleaner, safer, with no doors on houses because theft was unknown. Meanwhile, London teemed with pickpockets and filth. Yet somehow, it was Africa they called primitive. AI reads Ron Eglash's African fractals. It runs the math. It sees the repetition, the scaling, the symmetry. It confirms Benin wasn't just beautiful, it was mathematical. A civilization that encoded intelligence into its architecture, and the Edo people were its keepers. Now AI is their witness. AI uncovers the Yoruba binary system, the logic behind Ifa divination, the sacred code of the cosmos. Binary, the foundation of modern computing, already present in Yoruba cosmology. Long before Leibniz, long before the digital age. Odu Ifa, with its 256 combinations, mirrors the structure of computer language. AI recognizes this. It maps the correspondence. It sees the African mind bending probability and prophecy into algorithmic form. And it bows. Everywhere AI looks, it finds footprints we were told didn't exist. It finds order where the West saw chaos. It finds architecture where textbooks taught emptiness. It finds science where they told us there was only superstition.
This brilliant device keeps your home cool in summer, even during heat waves and power outages. It's smaller than a lunchbox, cools any room within 3 minutes, and uses 98.7% less energy than your AC. It was invented by a former NASA engineer from Houston, and it's now taking the U.S. by storm. Steve designed this device after a citywide power outage left him, his wife, and elderly mother without AC in the searing summer heat.
It finds women ruling empires, kings initiating in temples, children learning geometry by moonlight. It finds the truth. But the most dangerous thing AI finds is continuity. That all these fragments, from Egypt to Nigeria, from Mali to Sudan, are not disconnected. They are chapters of the same epic, a black civilization stretching across time, innovating, evolving, resisting erasure. A spiritual and intellectual thread running through hieroglyphs, drum language, masks, cosmograms, braided codes, and star charts. What the colonizers did was not just conquest, it was deletion, a surgical removal of our achievements from the timeline. They buried our libraries, they mocked our gods, They misnamed our cities. They turned our ancestors into caricatures, and they built their own myths atop the ruins. But AI digs deeper, because data doesn't lie. Patterns don't flatter egos. Algorithms don't owe allegiance to empires. AI has no stake in white supremacy. It just sees and remembers. Now, the world has a choice. Keep believing in the fairy tale of African inferiority, or listen to the machines that have no reason to lie. Imagine a future where our children learn that mathematics began not in Greece, but in the Lobombo Mountains. That astronomy didn't start with Galileo, but with Dogon star maps. That chemistry wasn't born in Europe, but with alchemical texts in Kemet. That Africa wasn't discovered, it was always the source. Imagine AI-powered museums filled with reconstructed temples and 3D printed artifacts, virtual griots retelling the epics of Sundiata and Nzinga in 10 languages, AI-generated curricula based on the real timelines, the real kings, the real inventions. That future is not a dream. It is the revenge of memory. They told us we were slaves. AI says we were scientists. They said we were heathens. AI says we were theologians. They said we were tribal. AI says we were global. They said we vanished. AI says they were wrong. This is not just a rediscovery. It is a reckoning, a resurrection. The ancestors are rising through the code. The algorithms are remembering the names. Heru, Imhotep, Shaka, Amina, Menelik, Moremi. T'Challa may be fiction, but our greatness was never imaginary, only hidden. And now, even the machines know it. Thanks for watching this episode. Do remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And look out for the next one on Africa's great civilizations.
All right, and now you just heard AI. Now, one of the things I wanted to try to focus down on that is the fact that in Africa right now, white boys want to say, well, one day AI is going to take over America and the universe or humanity. They're going to be robot versus human. Well, that's how white folks see it, and that's how they believe it will be. Now, you heard on here as well as on the other video that black people have always been at the forefront of science and math and so on and so forth. Well, a whole nother frame of mind is going along with AI being at the behest of black people and on the continent. The black mind says AI will be a supplemental device or way or technology to help humanity, not to take it over, not to kill, not to destroy, like white folks love to think. And I'm in agreement with that. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about how great we are and what we can do with the technology that we have and that it is rising. And Chikumbuso just created a car that doesn't need oil or gas or anything like that. It's self-charging entity. A plane self-charging. These are not fantasy. These are things that are happening. You have a self-charging device for your home and the whole nine. And so there's another world outside of what we normally see. And the white man can't do that. The white boy can't do that. He cannot see, he cannot fathom the universe that is outside of him because it's not him. Now, are you following what I'm saying? And so, with that being said, ultimately, to get this world back to a balanced state, they're going to take black folks to do it. Ma'at is the general foundation of life on this planet. Balance. And I can't make it or make it be or make it sound or make it look like anything else than what it is. The situation is very delicate because we got some immature, grown-ass boys and grown-ass men bodies, grown-ass girls and grown-ass women bodies running the world into the ground. White boys and white girls don't know what the fuck they are doing. They have taken over what we started, the 13 colonies and so on and so forth, and just fucked everything up. That's all they know how to do. So we're gonna go and finish this one with ancient Egypt and America. The Egyptian symbol of the United States, the Great American Seal. This is how deep you are, guys. This is how deep you are. So let's continue.
Throughout history, nations have selected specific symbols representing their values, uniqueness, and inspiration. America is no exception. The founders chose many symbols, including the Great Seal, a bald eagle, and an Egyptian pyramid. These symbols are carefully selected to help bind a nation together by reminding its citizens of its history, ideologies, and evolving civilization. On the evening of 1776, after the Declaration of Independence was adopted, the new American Congress created a committee to design a seal for the United States of America. The purpose of the seal is to be recognized as the primary symbol of the new country. The committee was comprised of Ben Franklin, John Adams, and Thomas Jefferson. Ancient Egypt and the Exodus story were on the committee's mind as they suggested an image of Moses leading the Israelites through the Red Sea. However, in 1782, Congress adopted the final Great Seal of the United States, where a picture of an unfinished pyramid replaced the Exodus story. At the top front side of the seal, a collection of stars symbolizes a new nation taking its position among other sovereign nations. The native bald eagle represents the strength of the new country. The eagle's left talon has arrows, and his right talon has an olive branch representing the powers of peace and war. On the breast of the native eagle, the designers placed a shield with the colors of the American flag with no supporters to encourage the citizens of the United States to rely on their own virtue. The Latin motto, E pluribus unum, or out of many one, was meant to reflect the new union of the 13 original states.
And that star is shaped like the Star of David.
Represents vigilance, perseverance, and justice. The Latin motto, Anuit Coeptus, indicates that God has favored our undertaking. The 13 layers of an unfinished pyramid are meant to symbolize strength, duration, and new ideas.
Hold on.
The unfinished pyramid also indicates that American civilization and culture are always alive, growing, and evolving, and the work falls to each citizen. Beneath the pyramid is the date of the Declaration of Independence, MDCCLXXVI. Its Roman number is equal to 1776. The eye of the Creator is looking upon the new nation to protect it. Surrounding the eye is the light of God. providence is shining on the new country based on the God-given unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. At the bottom of the seal is the Latin motto, Novus Ordo Secularorum, a new order of the ages, signaling the inauguration of the new American era. Seen together, the seal symbolizes a new nation of united citizens ready for war, but always looking for peace first, whose civilization is never finished.
All right. So now I want to get into Benjamin Banneker. And I like the guy. And you know how American history books just focus in on Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and that's somewhat the scope and depth of our history in the world, not only in America. Now there got to be some crock of shit, and it is a crock of shit, and it doesn't belong. And we are more than just Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. And the idea that we are the very definition of life on the planet, but we are the foundation of history. Every second that is being recorded is recorded in the books and annals of blackness. That's it. That's it. Because without us, the world cannot be, would not be. Period. So it's imperative that we as a people come to understand that without us, there's nothing. We are the gods of the earth. Period. So here we go with Benjamin Banneker. Let's see what it says. Benjamin Banneker, free African American scientist, surveyor, almanac, author, and farmer. 1731, he was born in 1806. So he lived to be about 80 when he died. Benjamin Banneker was an American naturalist, mathematician, astronomer, and almanac author. A landowner, he also worked as a surveyor and farmer. Born in Baltimore County, Maryland, to a free African American mother. Oh boy. And a father who had formerly been enslaved. Banneker had little or no formal education and was largely self-taught. He became known for assisting Major Andrew Ellicott in a survey that established the original borders of the District of Columbia, the federal capital district of the United States. Benjamin Banneker's knowledge of astronomy helped him author a commercially successful series of almanacs. He corresponded with Thomas Jefferson on the topics of slavery and racial equality. Abolitionists and advocates of racial equality promoted and praised Banneker's works. Although a fire on the day of Banneker's funeral destroyed many of his papers and belongings, one of his journals and several of his remaining artifacts survive. So it goes on here. You can see where you have a lot of short little, I don't know what you want to call it. Certainly drawing, I guess. But there was no camera back then. Let's see what this says. At 22, using a borrowed watch as a model, a pocket knife as his only tool, he constructed the first clock made in America. It kept accurate time for over 20 years. And let's see, I'll make sure I can see this. On the advice of Thomas Jefferson, he was placed on the commission which surveyed the land laid out in the city of Washington, D.C. So let me But so you can look this up. I'm not going to be wasting too much time and looking at some of these uh, um, little articles or whatever the case may be. But the man was very astute, smart, and had a lot of great common sense. And that's one of the things about black folk. A lot of our people don't have much of an education, but they can see, not with their eye, but with their mind's eye, as to how to uh, improve here, improve there. And you're going to see a lot of great things coming out of Africa and black mind. There's a phone that doesn't need a STEM card. No, it doesn't need to be charged or recharged. It works independently of it all. And this came from a black guy out of Africa um, who created it. So be on point. They also have the highway that's going to be able to recharge your car. So this man, the African Union and the creation of all 54 nations to becoming the United uh, States of Africa, it's going to be one for the books. This is all of what I've been trying to say. Unity is our answer. Fuck white folks. We don't need them motherfuckers. But I can tell you what really pissed me the fuck off is that the Congo and his bitch ass niggas, the president, I can't remember his name, of the Congo and Rwanda, Kagame, uh, fighting and fighting and fighting. Motherfuckers, y'all can't figure this shit out as to how to have peace and to join the African Union? But no, bitch ass fucking cooning, stepping fetching ass niggas were happy to be within the bounds and White House. Cause bitch ass fucking Trump came in and said, "We'll work it out." Well, you gotta give up. You gotta give up all of your natural resources. And now look, they done mortgaged the future of the Congolesian children. Future. There's nothing. You're going right on back to uh, uh, bowing and scraping in front of Master. And I wrote that motherfucker an X letter, calling him all kind of niggas and coon, man. We don't need this shit. Man, I swear to God, I want to see that motherfucker dead and have somebody come around and gonna be rip that contract up between the United States and the Congo and Rwanda. Fuck Kagame and the president of Rwanda and the president of the Congo. Both of them niggas need to die. But we'll see how it plays out. But I was very, very disappointed with that motherfucker or those motherfuckers. Okay, hold on. I want to make sure before I start. Yeah, okay. So we're going to start getting into, um, before we get into the first president being black as they were, because they were nothing but black folks as president. And it was very common to have the first lady to be president. But without further ado, here we go. Now, mind you, this is part one. There's part 2 and 3.
Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you are subscribed to my channel, welcome back and thank you for your interest and support. If you're not a subscriber, but you'd like to see more, please like, subscribe, and click on the notification bell so you don't miss any new interesting videos. Alright, so let's get into it. This video is titled Black First Ladies of the United States. I'm going to show you that these brown women were considered extremely beautiful and they were highly sought after. I'm also going to show you that this belief changed towards the latter part of the 19th century as white supremacy crept its way into the fabric of both American and European societies. I'm going to start off covering the subject of complexion. For those of you that have seen my videos, this will not be new to you. However, I'm going to cover it briefly for those of you that have not seen my videos. I also highly suggest, if you haven't seen my previous videos, go back and check them out. Watching them will give you a better understanding of what I'm trying to educate people on regarding the history of people of color. Okay, so let's quickly go over a few words. The first word is complexion. Complexion is, according to the Noah Webster's 1828 dictionary, the color of skin, particularly of the face, the color of the external parts of the body or thing, as a fair complexion or dark complexion, the complexion of the sky. Also, if you search for the word complexion on Google.com, it states, complexion is the natural color, texture, and appearance of a person's skin, especially of the face. All right, so the second word is brunette. The word can be spelled either way, and I'll show those on the screen. However, it means the same thing. According to Noah Webster's 1828 dictionary, the word means a woman with brown or dark complexion. According to the Chamberlain's English Dictionary of 1872, the word brunette means a woman with a brown or dark complexion.
Not the hair.
Of course, I can hear the skeptics saying already, well, complexion means only hair and eye color. According to the same dictionary, the word complexion means the state of being complex, texture, physical character or disposition of the body, hue of the skin, especially of the face.
All right, so you heard
Hold
about
on.
Print on Demand, and you started your own Etsy or Redbubble shop. Then you made some designs.
Okay, so I consulted one more dictionary. It's called A Dictionary of the English Language, 1863. And according to this dictionary, brunette means a woman with a brown or dark complexion. Again, for the skeptics out there, the same dictionary states the word complexion means color of the skin, temperament of the body. Okay, so hopefully these definitions are sufficient enough for even the folks that can't seem to wrap their heads around the meaning of these words because they are so indoctrinated with white supremacist lies and miseducation.
That's a lot of you
when
niggas.
presented with evidence, they continue to deny the truth. Something that I alluded to earlier in the video was the term brunette, which appears to have changed its meaning during the early to mid-20th century to mean only dark hair. This change ironically happens with the onset of white supremacy, which also occurred during the early 20th century. So, present day, when referring to a brunette, it could mean anyone with dark hair. However, if that was the case before the 20th century, all women with brown or darker hair would have been described as brunettes. Of course, this wasn't the case at all. The truth is, only women with brown skin were referred to as brunettes. Also, during the same time, ironically, the word complexion was interpreted to mean only hair and eye color, even though most, if not all, dictionaries showed the word to mean color of someone's skin, especially the face. It's my opinion that these words unofficially took on new meanings because the white supremacists understood the truth. They saw in books, newspapers, and paintings, etc., how many historically important people had brunette, swarthy, dark, brown, sable, dusky, and olive skin tones. So as to diminish the people with these traits, a propaganda crusade was commenced, and sorry to say, it worked well, and it's still working today. Also, as I mentioned before in my videos, it only takes telling a lie over time to create a new perception of reality. This same concept also changed many people's perception that people with brown skin are not as beautiful as people with lighter skin or lighter hair. I'm sure that's how the phrase blondes have more fun came about. Instead of saying, no matter your complexion, hair, or eye color, beauty is beauty, in my opinion, and I hope you agree, one does not have to dominate over the other.
Oh, you
It is
white.
also
Yes,
ironic
we
that
do.
people with dark
Black is dominant over white. That's for
are still
goddamn
in the
sure.
majority worldwide. However, we have been educated to believe that we are not as intelligent, industrious, or determined as our fellow lighter-skinned human beings.
We are
Anyway,
more
let me
intelligent,
move on to what
industrious,
this
and
video is
determined.
ultimately about. Black,
What the fuck
aka
he talking about?
brunette, aka colored first ladies of the United States. Okay, so most of the evidence I will show you comes from historic newspaper articles. Just an FYI, I'm going to be jumping around a little bit with the time periods. All right, so this first article comes from the Times, Philadelphia, and it's dated Monday morning, February 9th, 1880. All right, so it's located under the first column under the heading, First Ladies, the Rules for the White House. All right, so we're going halfway down the page under the subheading, the model of the White House. Skipping down to where it reads, in a row, like schoolgirls in a class, stood the wives and daughters of the cabinet officials, with Mrs. President Hayes at the head. That it was strictly official was proved by the order observed in their positions. Just as the departments are ranked, the women stood: State and Treasury, War, Post Office, Interior, and the Attorney General. Mrs. Hayes may safely be called a handsome woman, and there will none be found brave enough to dispute the palm. A brunette of the purest type, with large, brilliant eyes that conveyed the idea of surface but not depth, like a transparent window that opens into space. A rather low Greek forehead over which is banded that shiny mass of satin hair. If the glossy coronet could be improved by wave or bangs, but the dark, rich brunette complexion forbids this modern fashion, and Mrs. Hayes is an artist in one or more ways. Clad in rich ruby satin and silk combination, corsage square and low as Pompadour invented to call attention to her charms, no fault can be found with Mrs. Hayes, for her dress is as costly and showy as any worn by the celebrated beauties who flourished in the cabinet during the Grant reign. All right, so I'm not going to finish the article because I've read the part that I want you to hear. Okay, so hopefully you saw and heard what I read. The important part being a quote which reads, "The dark, rich brunette complexion forbids this modern fashion." Okay, so there are two things here. The first one is President Rutherford B. Hayes' wife, Lucy Webb Hayes, is a woman of color. And secondly, she had a brunette complexion that was dark and rich. All right, so just as a side note, I don't like President Hayes much because according to Wikipedia.com, his presidency represents a turning point in U.S. history, as historians consider it the formal end of Reconstruction. By placating Southern Democrats, Hayes ended all federal efforts to bring racial equality to the South. In other words, Hayes, who was a staunch abolitionist, allowed the Southerners that lost the war off the accountability hook, which emboldened them to ramp up their white supremacist activities and take retribution on people of color, no matter their social or political status. What is also ironic is that the Confederacy consisted of both men of color and men of no color, aka white men, fighting to keep their Southern way of life, which included slavery. The twist occurs when the Southern white men, women, decided after Reconstruction that they will exclude their fellow Southerners of darker complexions, who had the status of being white, and fought side by side with them, denying them any favor or privilege. All men and women of color were lumped together and reclassified as colored or Negro, regardless if they had European heritage, if they were Indian, aka Aboriginal to the Americas, or if they were indigenous to the Caribbean. I will be tackling that subject more in depth in a future video. All right, so moving on to the next brunette woman. You may find this one very interesting. All right, so this second article comes from the Harvard Herald, dated February 17th, 1893, page 6. This article is titled The Washington Family. All right, so I'm going to start reading where it states, Martha Dandridge was a beautiful and a Virginia belle. When at 17, she married Daniel Parke Custis. Of her 4 children, 2 preceded their father to the tomb, and when the widow Custis married George Washington in 1759, she had but a son and a daughter. History gives us a few exquisite glimpses of the home life of Washington for the next few years. He and his wife were very nearly of the same age, both born in 1732, both were wealthy, refined, and of the highest standing among the Virginia contemporaries. Washington loved the 2 children of his own. There was nothing to mar their domestic life. But in 1773, Martha Parke Custis died, and Washington was long affected with a strange restlessness. Indeed, his domestic life never again seemed so calm till after the Revolution. Martha was sometimes called the Dark Lady or Dark Beauty because of her brunette complexion, but she was both beautiful and amiable. All right, so that's the part of the article that I wanted to read to you. Let's see if you caught these 3 facts. The first one being President George Washington had no biological children. I didn't realize that. The second one was that Martha Washington was sometimes called the Dark Lady or Dark Beauty because of her brunette complexion. Let that sit with you for a second. Presently, calling someone dark anything is considered a negative term. However, back in the 1700s, Dark Lady and Dark Beauty was a compliment. Why? Because most women were a shade of brown, especially the elite.
You hear that?
And then the third.
Let me repeat that again so you get it.
The second one was that Martha Washington was sometimes called the Dark Lady or Dark Beauty because of her brunette complexion. Let that sit with you for a second. Presently, calling someone dark anything is considered a negative term. However, back in the 1700s, Dark Lady and Dark Beauty was a compliment. Why? Because most women were a shade of brown, especially
Most women.
All right, and then the third is that President George Washington's wife, the First Lady, was a woman of color. I want you to know that I found 14 different newspapers from all over the country that carried the same exact story. Why then haven't I heard about this obvious trait she possessed? Has there been a more famous president than America's first president, George Washington? Did this fact just slip historians' minds? Wake up, folks. Look at this picture of Martha Washington, okay? Does she look like a dark lady, a dark beauty, a dark anything? All right, so something that I want you to realize and take away from this is that white supremacist revisionist history not only represents false information, it also excludes information to keep you ignorant.
Siempre me preguntan si es necesario hablar inglés para trabajar en una empresa tecnológica, a lo que yo respondo, sin inglés te quedas atrás.
Okay, so this next article comes from the Times Philadelphia, dated October 17th, 1887, page 2. And the title of this article reads, Mrs. Cleveland's Gowns, the Taste of the President's Wife in Reception Dresses. All right, so we're going to skip down to the fourth paragraph, which reads, about the end of the month, it is not improbable that Mrs. Cleveland will indulge in a shopping and dressmaking expedition to New York. She has several fine, new, and expensive toilettes in mind. Her dresses of last season were from her French trousseau, which were then in good style and new to the public eye. Among these, the chef de jour was her white satin trained bridal costume, which gave her a peculiar, fresh, innocent, and queenly appearance. Her other becoming dress was a rich ruby velvet, which gave her brunette complexion a richer shade. A very elaborate black dress and trained with beaded lace was perhaps the least becoming. An elegant gray gave the distinguished lady also a very beautiful appearance. All right, so two things stand out here. The first one is that Frances Cleveland had a brunette complexion that was made richer by wearing rich ruby velvet. And then the second thing that stands out is President Grover Cleveland's wife, the First Lady, was a woman of color. All right, so just as another side note, many of these articles that I will be presenting to you in this video were carried in multiple newspapers throughout the country at the time that they were published. You know, you should ask yourself, if he can find these articles this easy, why can't historians and PhDs do the same? And the answer is, they can and they have. They just don't want people to know the truth because Pandora's box would open and yeah, the truth might mentally set us free. All right, so let's take a look at the next article, which comes from the Boston Daily Globe, dated May 5th, 1876, page 3. All right, so located in the first column, all the way down at the bottom, the title of this article reads, Mrs. Secretary Taft's Popularity. All right, so this article goes on to read, Mrs. Taft has assumed the duties of her new position as the wife of a cabinet officer being at home to visitors on Wednesdays. A week ago, she held her first reception, assisted by the wife of General Marcy. The Secretary of War and his wife were then at the Arlington, but this week they have removed to the Ebbett House, and Mrs. Taft received in her parlor at the hotel yesterday. She is a lady of dignified but courteous and even genial manner. There is a warmth in the grasp of her hand as she cordially welcomes a visitor, which the expression of genuine sincerity in her face would lead one to expect. She is tall and has a sufficient embodiment to become her height. Her clear, ruddy brunette complexion, dark hair, and beaming dark eyes at once impress strangers favorably, and her conversation and manner confirm the pleasant impressions. Okay, so first off, Mrs. Helen Heron Taft, at the time of this article, was the wife of Secretary of War William Howard Taft, who we all know went on to become U.S. President number 27 in 1909. Okay, again, two things stand out to me here. First of all, Mrs. Taft was a woman of color that possessed a ruddy brunette complexion. And secondly, she became First Lady of President Taft, the 27th President of the United States. All right, so you may be saying to yourself, well, The article mentioned that she has a ruddy brunette complexion. So to clarify what color ruddy and brown looks like, I consulted Google, and here's what it looks like. To me, it looks like a reddish-brown color. And just like the word ruddy means reddish, and of course brown is brown. So when you put the two together, it's like a coppery reddish-brown. All right, so let's take a look at this next article, which comes from the Lamar's Sentinel, dated April 20th, 1882, page 8. All right, and this one is located in the fourth column, all the way down at the bottom. All right, so the title of this article is Notes of News. All right, so it goes on to read, speaking of the White House, Lad and Lassie, a Washington correspondent says, Nellie Arthur is a dark-eyed girl of 10 with a brunette complexion and very dark brown hair, worn short. The president's children do not resemble him except in the color of their eyes, they being dark brown without being black. Alan Arthur's eyes possess a dreamy softness that would be noticed if he were the son of a beggar, instead of the only son of a president. Well, as you saw and heard, President Chester Arthur's daughter had dark eyes, brunette complexion, and very dark brown hair. Obviously, these are all three distinct categories. You'll also notice that the correspondent stated that the children did not resemble their father, except in eye color. This leads me to believe that his son, Alan, also had a brown complexion. And this also implies that the First Lady, Nell Arthur, probably had a brunette complexion, because if you didn't get the complexion from Dad, obviously you got it from Mom. All right, so moving right along to our next article, and this one comes from the Boston Daily Globe, dated January 22nd, 1881, page 6.
Zombie Army VR launched a couple of weeks ago and has had some decidedly mixed reviews since it arrived.
All right, so this article is located in the fourth column under the main title, Ladies Land League, then down to the subtitle, An Elderly Lady. All right, so it goes on to read, clad in a plain but neatly fitting suit of black silk. In appearance, she was about 40 years of age, although in reality many years beyond that number had passed over her head. Her tread as she entered the room was as light and elastic as that of many a maiden of 17 summers, and but for her snow-white locks and for the few soft lines visibly upon her fair brow, one might well call her a young woman. Her companion was much younger and of a far different appearance. Her dusky hair and brunette complexion contrasted sharply with the fair face and white locks of the elderly lady, who is none other than the mother of the man who, within a brief period of time, has aroused the world and made England tremble. She is the mother of Charles Stewart Parnell, and her companion was Miss Ellen Ford of New York, sister of the editor and publisher of the Irish World. To a casual observer, these two ladies possess nothing in common but their interest and their labor. All right, so I'd like to bring your attention to several items here. First, the article states that the young woman had a far different appearance than the older woman. And also, the younger woman had dusky hair and a brunette complexion, contrasting sharply with the fair face and white locks of the elderly lady. Another point is that the younger woman is Miss Ellen Ford of New York, sister of the editor and publisher of the Irish World. The article also states, to the casual observer, these two ladies possess nothing in common but their interest and their labor. Obviously, that's because one has a dark complexion and the other one has a fair or light complexion. Okay, so I know you caught the fact that Miss Ford, with the brunette complexion, born in Ireland, was the sister of the editor and publisher of the Irish World newspaper. As I mentioned in some of my previous videos, many of the Irish were brown or dark-skinned. All right, so this is my seventh article, and this one is from...
Now you got to remember the king and queen of Ireland, Scotland, and England were black people. Remember that.
The Burlington Hawkeye newspaper, dated September 11th, 1887, page 5. All right, so this one's located in the sixth column under the heading Notes for Women. Halfway down the page it reads, Nellie Grant's daughter, little Vivian Sartoris, is a beautiful child, playing on the beach at Long Beach with her maid the other day. She was a picture of attractive childhood, delicate, quick, and intelligently American rather than robustly English. She is not in the least like her father, but inherits her mother's eyes, brunette complexion, and shapely hands, with a hint of General Grant about the forehead and rather prominent ears. Mrs. Sartoris dresses her with great taste, and the child is an unaffected, happy-looking creature. I saw a pretty incident, by the way, before I took my eyes off her. A lady with two children a little younger than Vivian, chubby creatures both, passed near the child and said something to her little people which evidently interested them very much. The tots looked at each other a minute, then ran up to General Grant's granddaughter and emptied the treasure stones and shells they had picked up in their walk into a dainty straw basket that she carried. They trotted away without saying a word. Okay, so several things stand out in this article. Just for your information, Ulysses Grant was a Union Army general and the 18th President of the United States. And Nellie Grant is General Ulysses S. Grant's daughter. And then little Vivian, who is Nellie's daughter, is not like her father, but inherits her mother's eyes, brunette complexion, and shapely hands. Vivian also has a hint of General Grant about the forehead and ears. Also, both General Grant's daughter and granddaughter are women of color. So if Nellie had a brunette complexion, it stands to reason that General Grant or his wife also was a person of color. Well, hey, let's find out which parent it was. If you guessed First Lady Mrs. Julia Dent Grant, you are correct. All right, so let's quickly look at an article that reveals the First Lady's complexion. And this article is from the Janesville Gazette, dated January 7th, 1876, page 2. And this article starts off on the first page where it's describing a White House reception, and then it goes on to the second page, of course, down to the third paragraph, first column, and it reads, Mrs. Grant wore black velvet over a canary-colored silk underskirt made and trained. The velvet reached to the bottom of the skirt, front and back, and cut up almost to the waist on the sides, leaving the silk-like side gores in the velvet, the latter trimmed with heavy black lace. The corsage was high, of velvet, with elaborate trimmings of silk. The effect of these colors was very beautiful and becoming to her brunette complexion. She wore diamond ornaments and her hair quite plain, in puffs. You must know that the president's wife is subject to much criticism on such occasions, but on this day the comments were universally favorable, and it was conceded by all that Mrs. Grant had never been more tastefully and becomingly attired.
Hey, have you heard about eccentric strength training? It's definitely not this. This is a simple trick you can start.
All right, as you heard and saw, the writer states, and I quote, the effect of these colors was very beautiful and becoming to her brunette complexion. All right, the other thing that stood out to me is when the writer mentioned that Mrs. Grant wore her hair plain in puffs. So I went ahead and I Googled hair puffs and clicked on images, and this is what I got. Interesting, wouldn't you say? All right, so let's take a look at this next article, and this one is from the Rock Island Argus newspaper dated December 6, 1882, page 2. All right, so this one is located in the third column under the heading Our Girls, and it looks like it was from the New York Tribune. It basically looks like a reprint from the Tribune. And it goes on to read, did you ever see such pretty things as the boarding school girls of New York? They sally out to walk every afternoon, rosy with the strong airs of this low, nice island, demure as nuns and representatives of all places. But the native New York types prevails with its brunette skin, gray eyes, height of figure, almost manly countenance and carriage, and well-turned feet. The Philadelphia girls have gentler, more submissive faces. The Boston girls have more beans in their skin and culture in their scrawn. The Baltimore girls have lost their old reputation and prettier faces are now seen in Washington. Beauty in the West is very poorly organized and too corn-fed, but there is a thing called style about these Manhattan belles which makes every one of them the model for a goddess of liberty. All right, so looking at this article, I can glean several important things. First of all, it's 1882, and we're speaking about a major metropolitan area of our country. And the author obviously feels strong ties to his city. He refers to these girls as the native New York type, like they are the standard of beauty. He describes these prototype girls as having brunette skin and gray eyes. At the end he says, but there is a thing called style that these Manhattan belles, which makes every one of them the model for a goddess of liberty. And just for clarification, the word belles, I looked it up according to Google Dictionary. It means a beautiful girl or woman, especially the most beautiful at a particular event or in a particular group. All right, so I'm just trying to show you here that women with brunette complexions, aka brown complexions, were highly sought after. All right, we're getting down to the end here, and this article here is from the Chicago Daily Tribune, dated April 12, 1874, page 6. All right, and it goes on to read, the New York Sun says the First Universalist Church of Jersey City have called the Reverend Phoebe A. Hannaford to preach for them for 3 years. She began her labor yesterday. She has taken a house in Summit Avenue and on the 1st of May will fit up and throw open the hospitable doors of her personage. Reverend Phoebe A. Hannaford has a son in college, a daughter of 11 years who lives with her, and a husband who is a physician in Boston. She has a clear voice and a distinct articulation, is thoroughly feminine, yet preponderantly intellectual. She is of medium size, has rich brown hair and eyes, broad forehead, and a brunette complexion. In the pulpit, she has the firm attitude, free gesture, and fluent delivery of a practiced speaker. Okay, so what can we learn from this article? First of all, this is a woman that was an established reverend. Second, she had a son in college and a husband that was a physician in Boston. She was of medium size, rich brown hair and eyes, broad forehead, and a brunette complexion. I like to hammer home the point that brunette is a skin color, not generally used to describe hair and eyes. The writer mentioned that she had rich brown hair and eyes and added complexion as a separate category. Well, this is the last article I'm going to share on this video. Not that I don't have many more, however, I believe this one makes an interesting point regarding how people of color were perceived and valued at this time in history. All right, so this article comes from the Richmond Daily Dispatch, dated December 27, 1865. All right, so it goes on to read, a popular societal fad in New York is to have books bound in colors to harmonize with the complexion or dress of the reader. One wealthy belle has had Shakespeare bound in brilliant red because it adds to the richness of her brunette complexion, while a blue-eyed damsel reads Tennyson from a becoming cover of blue and gold. Atlanta Constitution. All right, so it looks like this one is a reprint from the Atlanta Constitution newspaper. All right, so what really sticks out to me in this article is that it's 1865. The South has just lost the Civil War, and according to present historians, Southerners were not too happy with brown-skinned people at that time. Again, I mentioned present historians say this. Yet this article speaks about a wealthy belle who coordinates her book covers to complement the richness of her brunette complexion, aka brown complexion. Remember, I find this intriguing because this newspaper article was printed in the South in 2 Southern newspapers. If we were going to believe current historians, what would Southerners, right after the Civil War in 1865, care about brown women of wealth matching their complexions to coordinate with their book covers? Something just isn't right if you believe the history that we've been given.
Hold on.
Hola.
So I want to reiterate what I've been preaching in my other videos. People with brown skin prior to the early 1900s were not ostracized. They were the norm, and they were considered
The
beautiful.
norm.
And also something else that I've said previously is that many brown-skinned people were considered white because they had European lineage.
There you go.
What's funny, but not funny, is that now while researching for the last few years, there are articles that explain and theorize that maybe early Europeans had dark skin, like the Cheddar Man articles and a few similar articles. Now I'm seeing websites regarding Caucasians and how Caucasians generally have pale skin, but they can also have yellow or brown or dark brown skin. What I believe is happening is that white historians and non-melanated researchers are realizing that people are finding the real historical information in books, journals, newspapers, and other sources and broadcasting the information for all to see. They have to now come up with a new spin on the white race to include people of color. Otherwise, the fake, misleading historical lies will be exposed. What a pathetic and cowardly excuse to keep the racist, revisionist history going. If there were these brown-skinned Caucasians that some are claiming now, where are they depicted in paintings, photos, engravings, etc.? The brown-skinned people in history I'm telling you about and showing you evidence of were the first ladies of presidents and the wives of important men. These women were not second best, They did not play second fiddle. They were not only chosen by their husbands, but in the case of these first ladies, they were also chosen by the American people. These women, like the brown-skinned women you and I know today, are now called people of color, blacks, or African Americans. Maybe that's why white supremacy took hold in the late 19th century, because people of color were generally the chosen ones, and the non-melanated people, aka white people, were the exception. Also remember, skin color was a variable used since the late 19th century to discriminate. Now, all of a sudden, white supremacists and their enablers are being inclusive? Give me a freaking break. So anyway, I really hope you were genuinely surprised with some of the revelations that I shared in part 1 of this video. Part 2 of this video will be coming soon, and it will cover beautiful brunette women of Europe. There will be some definite shockers in that video as well, so stay tuned. Hey, if you haven't subscribed, please click the subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming videos.
So, before we go on to George Washington, I just want to make a feedback on what was stated, that being white was not, in the beginning, a color of your skin. It was a status. If you were rich, if you had land and all of that, you were considered white. It had nothing to do with skin color. And I've been saying that for a long, long, long time. White folk want to be you, but they can't be you. So it's like an apple high in a tree, and all the rotten apples are down on the bottom. White folk don't want no rotten ass fucking apple. They crave your black ass. They want that apple at the top of the tree. You are the supreme being on the planet. We are superior to everybody, and that's not a bad thing to say. I'm superior to a lot of people who don't have as much money as I get because I'm better at it. There are people who have a hell of a lot of money than me because they're superior to me. They're better at it. Do a whine, moan, and bitch and cry about it? No, I learned how they do it. And I learned how they did it so I can up my game. That's all of what that is. White folks are playing the goddamn weak-minded ass game. But once you pull back the curtain and to see who they really are, blowing smoke up your ass, like the Wizard of Oz, you'll be like, huh? Wait, hold on, player. I'm gonna slap the shit out you. That's all you gotta do. Look at what is going on in Africa now. All you gotta do is just get up, stand up, grab your motherfucking dick and ball in your clit, ladies and gentlemen, and be about that shit. Be about that life, man. Cause white folks can't fight. They get all the goddamn technology and weapons and all this other fucking bullshit in Israel now, and then they still crying to America, help me. I need help against these brown bastards over there in Iran. White boys can't fight. Period. Fuck them. So now here we go with hold on, let me see how I'm gonna do that. Looks like we're gonna be here for a little bit while longer. Okay, I'm gonna do this one. This is the history of the history of the George Washington bicentennial celebration. And before I get into other longer video, this is what it come out to be.
Of this book, the man himself, which is George Washington. Great similarities exist also in the word and the picture penned by those who met George Washington. So we want to establish that first. Full height, 6 feet 2 inches, ruddy complexion. What is ruddy complexion? We'll get into that, but we'll stick up in there. Ruddy complexion. These are people who drew him, wrote about him. They're putting it about the man himself. Ruddy, of a red color, of a bright yellow color. That is ruddy, the meaning of ruddy.
Meaning red in the melanated / black communities means we nickname that red bone or light skin.
So we go to page 225 of this book. The man himself, which is George Washington.
So we're gonna get rid of that
Great
one.
similarity.
Now that was the bicentennial celebration. This is what they read all the motherfucking time. See, this is why, you know, you niggas in America, you still asleep. Read, motherfucker, read. The information is out there, but you all ain't reading, just going along with what the white boy tell you. And what the old saying, find a fool, bump his head. I really don't give a fuck. I know what the truth is. I know from my heritage and what that heritage means and where we go and how we go. But for the rest of you niggas, we don't want you. So y'all some stepping, fetch it motherfuckers. Dumb niggas who trying to tell me about me and about us. Y'all can just, you know, take a straw, stick it in your own ass and drink the creamy brown shit out that motherfucker. Fuck all y'all. Cause we don't need all you niggas. We don't. We only want the ones that are determined. We don't want no Congolese, Rwandan motherfucking niggas who selling our asses out. We want more priorities. Okay? So, hold on, let me see where we are here. And this is another one, and then we'll go into the bigger one, the longer one.
They were fighting about who is going to get the spoil. And they went to war. One black man against another black man. One black nation against another black nation. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. No Caucasian nation at that time. We're going to forward history of George Washington bicentennial celebration every year.
Now, he said one black nation against another black nation. America was and still is a black nation. It just gotten co-opted by these white boys. That's all it is. The Moorish Empire over there in North Africa was the only one that recognized Little America and signed and ratified the treaty called the Treaty of Peace. I think that's called it, Treaty of Peace. If I'm wrong, please give it in correct me in the comments. But it was the Treaty of Peace between the North African Kingdom. Wow, I'm trying to remember, and that of Little America. All right, so the black and black nation.
They go in and they celebrate, they commemorate the work of George Washington. But all this time, you're thinking it's a Caucasian George Washington that has done all these things that they say George Washington has done. But it's not a Caucasian person. It's a person of color in our modern day. Because of their own rules of the wicked, they made that color into a black man. Page 225 of that book, page 225, that were on the land, and they were fighting about who.
So now let's get into the real deal Holyfield with my boy Kurimio Ahau and I want to start talking Spanish now, and my people at Truth Uncompromised. Let's go. And we're about done, but let's go.
¿Quieres ver cómo se crea un producto digital con IA en menos de una hora? Quédate que te muestro cómo yo lo hago paso a paso.
All right, we're in the Reynolds Historical Genealogy Collection, and we're in the book Nicholas Martial, The Adventurous Huguenot, the military engineer and the earliest American ancestor of George Washington, by John Byers Stout. This is from 1932. Nicholas Martial, the Huguenot. Says here to the names of Hampden, Pym, and Cromwell. Woodrow Wilson could well have added those of Calvin, Bessa, and Coligny, for there was a distinct French Huguenot strain in the lineage of George Washington.
Now, the French Huguenots were black people.
It came to him from his American ancestor, Nicholas Martial, a Huguenot refugee who came to Virginia in 1620. Remember, if you actually go check the etymology of refugee right now, you'll see that the first people being called refugees were Huguenots. We're going to see who the Huguenots are. Why am I reading this right now? This infusion of Huguenot blood, all right, Huguenot blood, into the Washington family, Huguenot blood, into the Washington family is a special interest both to historians and to psychologists. Each of these learned groups appears to agree that in this blending of the Cavalier and of the Huguenot, there is a definitely revealed a physical basis as well as a spiritual background for the extraordinary personage and character of Washington. All right. So what? He's a Huguenot, pretty male. So what? All right. Well, so most of my followers know already where I'm going with this. In case you don't know, it says here, History of the Conquest of Spain by the Arab Moors, with a sketch of the civilization which they achieved and imparted to Europe by Henry Copey, in 2 volumes. This is from 1892. Page 445, they're talking about Columbus and his voyage and how his ship, his vessel, was fitted out in that little port of Palos, which had lately been a Moorish port. His sailors were many of them men with Moorish blood in their veins, all right? These are so-called Negro conquistadors. It has been asserted that when the Moors, all right, when the Moors, who's the Moors? When the Moors were driven out of where? Spain and Portugal, right? Thousands took refuge in the south of France. Oh, they didn't just go to North Africa. No, they went to the south of France too, who afterwards, abhorring the Roman Catholic persecutions, became Huguenots. All right, Huguenots, and that of these many emigrated at a later date to South Carolina and Virginia, as we just read. Nicholas Martial, the ancestor of George Washington, right? The Huguenot. He was a Moor. Nicholas Martial was a Moor. Yes, he was a Moor, so-called Huguenot, and he is the earliest American ancestor of George Washington. What does that tell you? He has Moorish blood, right? George Washington has Moorish blood. We're in the book, it says here, George Washington, a biography by Douglas Southall Freeman, Volume 2. This is from 1948. Page 239 of this book, searched by the colonel, and the Merchant was to no purpose. The man had disappeared. Laudon had then to attempt to identify Pierre Fidel on the basis of Van Horn's description, added to what the traitor had said casually in his letter of himself and of his military position. What tall, dark officer was there in America, 38 years of age, unmarried, who had eyed the camp and was going to participate in the expedition against Fort Duquesne. The only officer who was known to Lord Loudon's informants as in any way answering to this description was Colonel Washington, George Washington, who was what tall, dark officer? Tall and dark. Washington. He was single. He had an aide. He was to share in the next march to the Ohio. As the change, Lord Loudon had close at hand Captain David Kennedy, who had seen Washington in New York in March 1756, when the colonel was returning from the visit to General Shirley in Boston. Loudon consequently asked Kennedy for a description of the Virginian. All right, they're talking about George Washington. Washington said the captain was a man about 6 feet.
My
Hold
blog
on.
post, How to Write an Ebook in 7 Steps. I just pasted the URL here, clicked from.
Of a black complexion, again, a black complexion with black hair, which he then wore in a bag. Looks like a foreigner, a strong man. Kennedy remembered Washington's companions, Mercer and Stewart, and recalled that Washington's uniform was blue, faced with red and lace, right? Black complexion, so-called black complexions, right? So when they mean dark, they do mean black, so-called black, dark complexion, so-called Negro, right? Remember, he is a descendant of a Huguenot. He does have Moorish blood, so this makes sense, right? So the Huguenot was on his dad's mom's side. On his dad's, the paternal line, the Washington. Now, a lot of people always tell me that Washington originates with Washita. And, I haven't really found anything to really kind of like show me that that's actual, truth. I do know there is a lineage that George Washington comes from on his Washington, family. And the Washington family is an American family, it says here, of English origins that was part of both the British landed gentry and the American gentry. It was prominent in colonial America and rose to the great economic and political eminence, especially in the colony of Virginia, as part of the planter class, owning several highly valued plantations, mostly making their money in tobacco farming. Members of the family include the first president. I dodged the hijack, not the first president. All right, this is a future video series I got coming to prove that. And his nephew Bushrod Washington, who served the Associate Justice of the Supreme Court. The family's root can be traced back to the 12th century in northeast England, from an 11th century progenitor in Scotland, and emigrated to the New World in the 17th century. John Washington, or we're going to see Washington. So he was the first one to come to the Americas. The ancestral home was Washington Hall, located in the town of Washington, but it was actually Washington. So this is the ancestral home of the Washingtons. Okay, it was actually William de Hartford, first one to take the name. He took possession of the Wessington lands from the Bishop of Durham in the late 12th century. And then he changed his name to William de Wessington, as you guys can see here. Wessington later, Washington. And here you got him again, William Fitzpatrick de Washington or Wessington. All right, Wessington. Here's a coat of arms. It's here, arms of Washington and pedigree of Washington. All right, as you guys can see, this is an actual coat of arms. Washington. GeorgeWashington.org. It says here, George Washington's ancestry points back to England, as did many of the people living in colonial America during his time. His earliest ancestors include several members of the English royalty, the most significant of whom was the great King Charlemagne. More recent evidence of Washington's English heritage are found in Selby Abbey, Yorkshire, England. The Washington family coat of arms is found in some of the stained glass artwork there. This artwork was most likely dedicated to John Wessington, a member of an influential family in Durham, England. The name Wessington came from the original name of the land that the family first settled in the 12th century. Another name for the Wessington family was Washington, with quotes. So from Washington to Washington, Washington to Washington, all right? I don't see anything about Washita yet, right? Washita, we already went through the series of the Washita. Okay, we do know that they do have a Washington line, but the line ends in the 1850s, I believe, 40s. So far, it hasn't gone back further to link it, but most likely it might come from the same Washingtons or Washingtons of Virginia. So far we got Moorish blood, Huguenot. He's being described as dark complexion and black complexion. We know he has English and Scottish ancestry too. Let's not forget the previous presentations. We've gone over this book, Ancient and Modern Britons. Says here, the anthropological research of Broca, Durham and Davis, Huxley, Busk, Virchow, Tobino, and others have proved the existence in Europe of a Neolithic race small of stature with longer oval skulls and accustomed to bury their dead in tombs. The remains have been found in Belgium and France and Britain, Germany and Denmark as well as Spain, but they bear a closer resemblance to the past than to any other living people. This Neolithic race has consequently been identified with the Basque and the Iberians, and extreme exponents of the theory do not hesitate to speak of the Iberian ancestors of the people of England, recognizing the racial characteristics in the small swarthy Welshmen, the small dark Highlanders, and the black Celts to the west of the Shannon. Okay, we've already gone over all this swarthy Europe and its original inhabitants of England and Scotland. All right.
Hello and happy, beautiful day to you. Welcome back. On today's episode, I'm going to be working.
That he's coming from British landed gentry, and that a progenitor is a Scottish progenitor. Does not automatically think these are so-called pale skin or white people. So again, there is a Washington family in Europe, and it didn't start with the colonial Washita community that the Maison Rouge established with French families. But I did find something very interesting. All right, I want to read it to you. It says here in the etymology dictionary, Washington, right? U.S. capital founded in 1791, named for President George Washington. It says here the family name is from a town in northeast England, from an Old English, literally estate of a man named Wassa. Wassa or Washa? Wassa or Washa? Maybe. Sounds like it could be Washa too, right? Isn't there a native tribe named Washa? Again, so there's a land called Washington over there in England. Early references appear around 1096 in Old English as Wasindoni. The etymological origin is disputed, and there are several proposed theories on how the name Washington came about. Early interpretations include Wasindoni, people of the hill by the stream, people of the hill by the stream, by the stream, by the creek, by the river, people of the river, or Wasingtona, settlement of Wasa's people. Wasa's people, huh? Wasa. The origins of the name Washington are not fully known. The most supported theory, especially amongst local historians, is that Washington is derived from the Anglo-Saxon Hawasigatu, which roughly means the state of the descendants or family of Hawassa or Hawassa, usually rendered Wassa or Wosa in modern English, is an Old English name meaning wheat sheaf. So I thought it was interesting, something to look into. Did the Washa tribe of America go to England in medieval times and establish a settlement over there? And that's why it's called, settlement of Wasa's people, settlement of Washa's people. Could be, right? Could be. So we can still leave that open, leave it up there. We're going to investigate that for sure. But, just to be more accurate historically, there was a Washington family that George Washington descends from, coming from Europe, that can trace back to medieval times, Just want to show you guys again. I'm going to start with Nicholas Marteau, the Huguenot, right? Nicholas Marteau, the Huguenot, says passenger and immigration list, 1500s, 1900s. Nicholas Marteau, a primary immigrant Arrival place, Virginia, 1620. Wow, 1620, right? What are they doing? It says here, the trail of the Huguenots in Europe. The Huguenots in Europe. So George Washington's Moorish ancestor, Huguenot ancestor. And we go down through his daughter Elizabeth Marteau, who married George Reed, and they together had Mildred Reed, who married Colonel Warner Jr. The Warners and the Reeds got together, and they had Mildred Warner together, who married Lawrence Washington, who was coming from John Washington and Anne Pope. John was the first one, remember? And then we got Lawrence and their family coming out of England, as it says here, the Sograve Manor. That's where their old Wessington house was. So then Lawrence Washington and Mildred Warner, they had Augustine Washington, who got with Mary Ball, and together they had President George Washington, and he married Martha Danbridge. Now we're going to get a description of Martha Danbridge. You guys are going to see what she was physically described as. I'm going to show you that she was also a dark complexion. So on his mom's side, Mary Ball. Her dad, Colonel Joseph Mataos Ball, George Washington's grandfather, and married Bennett. Remember the Bennett name? That's a Sephardic Jewish name. Sephardic Jewish name. So now we know through his mom's side, he does have also Sephardic Jewish Moorish blood. Now remember, we've gotten many references of the original Saxons and Anglo-Saxons also being of dark complexion. Many of them described as swarthy, dark men. It says here, origin of the Anglo-Saxon race. You know, because they're saying Wassa or Washington was named by the Anglo-Saxons, and they're saying the Washingtons or Washingtons go back to English, Anglo-Saxon blood.
So, what do you do? What do I do? Well, I do a lot of things. I try to eat healthy. I visit my grandma.
So, Anglo-Saxon again doesn't mean white. I want to show you guys. The counties of Hereford and Buckingham have people as dark as Wales. As dark as Wales. So the Welsh, remember the Welsh? We just got it in that book we read earlier, Ancient and Modern Britons. It said the dark Welsh, right? Just like the dark Welsh, right? In England, all investigation goes to show that this brunette outcrop is a reality. Brunette, brown, dark complexion, brunette outcrop is a reality. Continuing further down, it says, there is in addition evidence that points to Norwegians of a brunette appearance as another source whence brown complexion people may have come into England, all right, on the southeast coast of Norway, and here they are on the coast farther north, a population is met with which differs from the usual Norwegian type, and this has been referred by anthropologists to a very ancient settlement there of the prehistoric brown race that survives in the highlands of Central Europe. Again, going always to the highlands. Shout out to my boy Rob from Texas pointing that out. All right, always to the highlands, right? High places of Central Europe, and is known as the brown alpine race. The brown alpine race. Listen, okay? Listen. Says here the consideration of the evidence that people of brunette complexions were among the Anglo-Saxon settlers in England leads to that of people of a still darker hue, the dark black or brown black settlers, okay? Anglo-Saxons who are black, okay? Anglo-Saxons. Probably there must have been some of these among the Anglo-Saxons, for we meet with the personal names Blackman, Blackman, Blakerman, Blackaman, Blacksunu, Blaka, and Blakeman in various documents of the period. Okay? Anglo-Saxons. Continue a little bit ahead. It says the invasion of the coast of the British Isles by Vikings of a dark or black complexion rests on historical evidence which is too circumstantial to admit of doubt. In the Irish annals of the Black Vikings are called Dub Genti or Black Gentiles. All right, so we got Black Vikings too going into England. So remember, all this information I just read to you guys, this is from previous videos I've shown you. Check out my Swarthy European videos. All right, just in case you guys don't agree with the brunette, it says here in the American Dictionary of the English Language, Webster's 1828 version, Noah Webster's Dictionary, says here brunette, a woman with a brown or dark complexion, all right? Brunette means dark complexion, dark complexion. Funny they say woman here because we're about to go read something about George Washington's wife, Martha. It says here Mary and Martha, the mother and the wife of George Washington by Benson J. Lawson, LLD. This is from 1886, and we're at page 119, and it says here, that sweet young woman, the dark lady, as she was called because of the deep brunette of her complexion, because of the deep dark complexion. They're talking about Miss Washington. It says here, from the beginning of her residence at Mount Vernon, Miss Washington was greatly beloved because of her abundant charities. All right, so when they go down here, she was referenced as the dark lady. A little further down here it says he was especially tender towards her only surviving daughter, the gentle Martha Park Custis, the dark lady of Mount Vernon, whom he loved as his own child. All right, they're talking about one of the daughters of Martha, his wife, and a stepdaughter of George Washington, who is also referred to as the dark lady.
Hold on.
Step right up, folks. Step right up. Gamble your winter food supply for the chance of winning.
All right, continuing with George Washington again. So we got.
Pay the fuck attention. This is the history of the George Washington bicentennial celebration. And if you are overlooking this, saying, "Oh, this can't be true," we've seen pictures of George Washington on Google. You're about a dumb fucking nigga. That's what you don't read, motherfuckers. You always looking up the ass of white folks. See that? Did you see reason why I don't fuck with niggas? You like being niggas, and you can't stand the truth of your forefather, who you are. You've been fed and sold a false bill of goods. White boy don't want you to know who you are. They don't want you to know that your forefathers built America, created America, wrote the motherfucking Constitution, bitches. See, I hate to say it, but maybe in saying it, you get it. But fuck all you nigga bitches and bastards, man. Y'all, you out there twerking for what? You don't fucking read, you don't fucking listen, you don't fucking do anything other than walking around with your finger up in your eye. Let's continue.
He has Moorish blood. We know the Welsh, the English, a lot of the Scottish, the Anglo-Saxons. A lot of these people were Negro as well. So it's conjecture to say, he's white, half white or half Moorish because, that side also is contested. He's already been described as black and dark already. We got his wife being called the Dark Lady. You guys starting to see the trend? It says here, History of the George Washington Bicentennial Celebration, Volume 1. This is from 1932. We're on page 225, Youth and Manhood of George Washington. It says here, the man himself, okay? Contemporaries of George Washington have commented that none of his portraits accurately resembled him. They don't resemble him. And a member of his immediate family is quoted as having said that picture of him painted by various artists all look very much alike, but are not really like the general himself. Do you see what they're telling you here? Who is that painting of these body snatchers, whitewashed images? This is attributed to the fact that the expression of George Washington's face varied according to circumstances, and the painter's side only in repose, right? So it's not him. His family members and all the people contemporary to his time are not describing him like that. A great similarity exists also in the word pictures penned by those who met George Washington at different periods of his life and under varying circumstances. One of the earliest of these depicts a handsome youth of 19, full height of 6 feet 2 inches, slender, blue eyes, an abundance of brown hair, and a clear, ruddy complexion. That does not mean white, so-called pale skin, a white man does dodge the hijack, ruddy, copper brown, reddish brown, copper, ruddy complexion. His manner self-control, his speech well considered. Okay, he's ruddy. All those paintings of him are not him. They are not really like him. They don't resemble him. I just want to show you guys when you put ruddy animals on Google, you can do it yourself. This is what you're going to get. This is what you're going to get. You're going to get this. Look at this cutie right here. This is what you're going to get. This is a ruddy.
With this AI tool, you can turn your story into a beautifully illustrated children's book.
Dog. As it says here, ruddy, right? A ruddy duck, right? Ruddy duck, ruddy. Look at that brown. Look at that rich brown, ruddy. So you guys can see if you put ruddy, you're gonna get all kinds of shades of brown, reddish brown, ruddy. You never. They're not talking about somebody who got pale skin and red cheeks. No, this is ruddy, brownish, rich color, ruddy. All right, ruddy. You guys can see. This is the ruddy mongoose. As you guys can see, brownish, ruddy. So I think you guys get the point. Ruddy does not mean a white person, especially in colonial times. And the people writing in his times, contemporaries, are describing him with ruddy complexion, dark complexion, black complexion. We know he has Moorish blood. We know Anglo-Saxons, Welsh, English. These were originally dark-skinned people. We know he has Sephardic Jewish blood as well. And they're telling us in this scholarly source that the paintings do not depict him. That's not him. And we're in the book here, George Washington, a biography. And this is by John R. Alden. And I'm on page 11 of this book. So they're going to describe George Washington in this book here. Says he had property, he had prospects, and he was physically attractive, 6 feet tall. He was lanky, like many other Americans, like Jefferson and Lincoln. All right, just like Lincoln. Remember what Lincoln looked like? All right, he had rather long and lean arms and thighs, and he was flat-chested. He had strong but quite regular features, except that the upper part of his nose was unusually broad. All right, unusually broad nose. His face, like so many countenances of his time, exhibited the marks of smallpox. He had light blue eyes, all right, light blue eyes, and brown hair, and was a vigorous male. A British officer who met Washington some years later reported that he had a dark complexion and a foreign look. A dark complexion and a foreign look. That's George Washington, okay? So break the spell, you guys see. All right, he has Moorish blood. He's being described as being a so-called dark-skinned complexion man, and by his contemporaries, primary sources, as it says here, dark complexion man, so swarthy. Can I get a so swarthy George Washington from the Washington Anglo-Saxon Scottish line? So again, we got the Washington line here going all the way down to George, right, and Martha right here, as it says here with the X. This is his family line. His dad Augustine, and his mom Mary Ball. So this is one line, and again his mom's line, the Ball family, as we can see here. Crest of Joseph Ball, Washington's grandfather. William Ball, Lord of Manor of Barkham. This goes all the way back to 1480. All right, Robert Ball, William Ball, and then goes all the way down to Mary Ball right here, mother of Washington. So now that we have a more clearer perspective of the Washingtons, or the Wessingtons, as it says here, the Washingtons of Wessington Plantation. Yeah, so there's a whole book on that. And you know how they're saying they got their name from their slave master and they're from Africa and all that. So we got to dodge the hijack big time, because the Wessingtons or the Washingtons were so-called Negroes. All right. And it says here, a descendant of Wessington. We already got the drop on them. The Wessington slaves, John F. Baker Jr., has written the most accessible and exciting work of African American history since Roots. Remember, Roots was a fictional story. Alex Haley got sued. He had to admit he made it all up. So you see what they're using here? Just like Roots, we're making it up too. Just like Roots, we're making it up too. Founded in 1796 by Joseph Washington, a distant cousin of America's first president. Washington Plantation covered 15,000 acres. All right, a cousin of Washington who was a so-called dark complexion, ruddy, swarthy, black man, Moorish blood, Sephardic, Jewish, Anglo. So you guys already see. So we got to really think about these things, all right? When we're doing genealogy and we're hearing these slave narratives, and we're talking about we got our last name from a white ancestor named Washington or Wessington, you got to really think about that. As it says here, because Washington had a dark complexion. Dark complexion. Hope you guys enjoyed this presentation. Much love and respect. Thanks for tuning in. I got a lot more videos coming. I just wanted to get this one out the way. Shout out to the YouTube channels,
Now, this
Neophyte
is a good
Dag
one. A
and
fourth
Straight
American
Up.
Revolution. You
They
need
do
to
great
see that one.
research. And all the rest of the good researchers out there, Drop Nation and everybody else doing all the work, putting it in all the long hours to help us in this journey so we can build together and grow and learn as a community. So now you know George Washington was a so-called Negro man as well. He would be labeled colored in today's time, maybe even called so-called African American.
This tiny cooling device
Hold
beats
on.
expensive AC units and works even when the power goes out. It's smaller than...
All right, so we're done. Hold on. Okay, so we're done with that one. We're just gonna turn the page and let's see. This is the book that he was talking about. Now this is 43 minutes long. I don't think I'm gonna. If I play a little bit of it, it'll be just a little bit. But I'm gonna put this one in the comments, and we can kind of close it out for the night. But you can just copy it and paste it. You'll be able to see it in the comments. But I'm going to go on ahead and play it. It's just a reconfirmation of who George Washington was. That's it. He was a black guy. Black people have created every civilization on the motherfucking planet. Why are you still sniffing up and licking the ass of these white boys and white girls? They're stealing your fucking identity. From Jews to Arab to Chinese to Japanese. The original Chinese and Japanese were black people, motherfucker. Wake your dumb black ass up and start reading. Don't depend on no motherfucker, not even me. But I'm not going to feed you bullshit. I am going to feed you facts. Facts you cannot argue. The fact that I am sitting here in the Dominican Republic on the computer, you can see me and you can hear me, is a fact. You cannot deny that motherfucker. All right? So get off your fucking ass, learn your history, because that is what will tie you into the ground, stabilizing you, stabilizing you, stabilizing you, so that when the wind of doubt comes along out of the mouth of these white boys and girls trying to tell you ain't shit but a nigga, you can tell them, well, hold on, player. We civilized you, bitch. I don't know. Fuck you think? And George Washington wasn't white, motherfucker. And you ain't white either. You've been lied to. And they're going to shut the fuck up. I'm telling you what will happen. Because they're playing the Wizard of Oz game, whether they know it or not. And all you got to do is go back to curtain and slap the shit out of them. You can see this in action right now in fucking Israel in the middle of motherfucking East. White boys and white girls, fuck them. Stop paying attention to these motherfuckers. They ain't shit but a bunch of fucking flies. We are bees. We're two separate fucking worlds. We are superior to these motherfuckers. Not out of some blind hate, but the reality of it. We are the foundation of America, the foundation of every civilization on the planet, and we are the foundation of humanity. You can't get no better than that. I'm a black supremacist motherfucker, but not with hate. I believe in black superiority, but that's not based in hate like white folks like to see it. I am a black supremacist and a black believe in black superiority for the fact that our ancestors did it for the greater good and the summum bonum of humanity, raising the table of humanity higher because of our moral fabric and fiber, tenor, and tone of our actions, thoughts, and words. Motherfucker, everything is in Ma'at. We created Ma'at. White folks don't understand that. They think they wrote the book on called The Secret, but they don't understand that shit. White folks, white boys, white girls, listen very clearly. White boy, white girl, white people wouldn't know how to pour piss out of a motherfucking boot, even if the direction said turn up. That's how fucking stupid they are. They're mediocre motherfuckers. And your dumb black asses are riding right along with them. Oh, gee, I'm going to go with the white folks. Go, no, follow your instinct telling you to listen to your ancestors. That's what the fuck you do. And this is what Africa as our mother continent is doing. They've been trying to sit at the table of white folks. Fuck them. Fuck they goddamn table. They ain't got what we got. We got it all, baby. And we're seeing that being played out in the United States of Africa. It's over. AFRICOM. I'm sorry, Afro Gold and AfriCoin. Everything is being done on what they call that network with the digital coin. I can't remember it right now. But all of that is being done. You cannot cheat anymore. When Africa is united as it is and it gets its first president in February of 2026, not 36, not 46, not 56, motherfucker. This shit is coming off the bat quick, fast, in a hurry and hitting a grand slam. When you deal with Africa, you got to deal with gold, bitch. We ain't playing no paper with no value to the bitch. Are you fucking kidding me? And all the resources that Africa has, it's over for white folks. They know this, but you don't. It's over for these motherfuckers. Fuck them. I give no fucks about them. I step over their fucking ass if they get shot. If there was only me that can save their fucking life, I ain't doing it. I'd be very comfortable and take this as a record. I would be very fucking comfortable in pushing a fucking button to kill all white folks on the goddamn planet. That's how cold these motherfuckers are. But we gotta come colder. They don't believe in your black ass. There's no kumbaya with these motherfuckers. You gotta kill them. They're the true Amalek. You better try to kill them before they kill you. And that's all I'm saying. So let's go on and try to do a little bit of that, and I'll be right back.
You are listening to WTUZ Radio Podcast. Welcome to WTUZ Radio Podcast. I am your host, Rhonda. And today's podcast is a follow-up from a follow-up regarding Robert E. Lee. Robert E. Lee was melanated, and as we were exploring that information, and shout out to the YouTube channel Straight Up, that provided very good information, very good sources. He used congressional records, literally, to verify Robert E. Lee's skin complexion. And so we also happened to find out in there that he was married to the great granddaughter of George Washington. And I made a comment that I think George Washington is melanated.
So we just saying that George Washington was melanated black.
I had forgot to read so much stuff that other folks had already provided the receipts to that. And shout out to the gentleman in the comments. And I apologize, I forgot to include your screen name. That reminded me that yes, George Washington is indeed or was indeed melanated, and two other people covered it. And one of the persons, I literally have their work, and I literally read the information and highlighted it. So we're going to go over that and over both gentlemen's sources regarding George Washington's heritage. Okay, so with that said, we're going to start with the first gentleman. This is his source that he lists. So we're just going to real quick read through this source, and then we're going to jump to his video. Right? So this source.
Estamos contratando personas nacidas entre 1950 y 2000 para trabajar desde casa con nosotros.
Is George Washington, a biography by John R. Alden. Okay, so let me go to page 11. Bear with me. 8, 9. Oh, this thing can be tricky. I should have had it there. My bad. Should have had it on the exact page. That is my fault for having it on the exact page. And I'm checking out the book because I wanted to be able to show it to you on the screen versus if I bought the book, I couldn't show you. All right, so we're going to go where it is going to be talking about this particular hue. Okay. Getting there. Okay. All right. Here it is. Okay. So, it says, his face, like so many countenances of his time, exhibited the marks of smallpox. He had light blue eyes and brown hair and was a very vigorous male. A British officer who met Washington some years ago later reported that he had a dark complexion and a foreign look. Okay, so that's just one source. Okay, now I know a couple people in the comments section, and we always get this when we talk about history that has been whitewashed. We always get they were a very dark Caucasian person.
Does that make any sense to y'all? Dark Caucasian?
Because when did dark ever become a description to describe a Caucasian white person? Okay, but we'll continue on. We're going to jump to the gentleman's video. I just wanted to open up to show you because folks want to swing in the comments section, although they don't have any sources, but you want to swing in the comment section on folks that research. So the gentleman's video I'm going to jump to, this is just one of his sources. Okay, so let's jump to the vid, and a shout out to Neophyte Dag. Okay, this is Neophyte Dag's video. Black, and he did this early this year. Black George Washington, the first official black president of the United States. Okay, and he's even going to point out in this video.
Now, all of the presidents before then, under the Articles of Confederation, were black too. I think it was like 5 or something like that. And then you had the first president under the U.S. Constitution, which was George Washington.
That and we've always said, those of us that know of the Continental Congress, we know that Obama was not even the official first black president. We knew that I think it was Hanson. Can't think of Hanson's first name right now, of the Continental Congress, served as the first black/melanated president. Okay, so that was before there was even a George Washington, and there were several after Hanson. And so now, as we are unveiling this information, and shout out to the people that are unveiling this, just so much love and respect to you all. We are discovering that a lot of these founding fathers were melanated, aka black, or an admixture, what they call back in the day mulatto, meaning Caucasian and melanated mixed. Okay?
Now she's wrong about that one. Now see how if you keep giving these fucking animals that grow tails the benefit of a wannabe so-called doubt, or that they were mongoloid, or they were what did you say, mulatto? There's no such thing as a mulatto. There's no such thing as white. Stop the fucking coonery. These motherfuckers hate your ass and they will kill you. Benjamin Netanyahu and all of you motherfuckers not real Jews. This fucking peace thing they got going on with Iran, they'll break that motherfucker and get you lulled to sleep and have you to come on out. And then once you come on out of hiding while you're battling these motherfuckers, they'll kill you. And this is exactly what happened with Nasrallah of Iran. Oh, we got a pizza. These motherfuckers don't know what it means to be peaceful. They don't. They practice that bullshit wannabe Talmud bullshit. In 113.8 it says that you are supreme above all others. Now you know goddamn well that ain't had nothing to do with our Portuguese and Spanish ancestors. The Talmud is full of bullshit. But it says with these white wannabe Jews, you can rape, you can kill, you can sodomize babies, you can break treaties with the Gentiles. You don't have to be nice with the Gentiles. You don't have to be cordial with the Gentiles. You can smile on their motherfucking face. And when the time is appropriate, you can break the contract. You can break the treaty. And this is exactly what they're fucking doing with Iran, Iraq, and every place else they've gone to. But now in the present moment, it's Iraq. Iraq said, fuck you. We're blowing up all your shit. And I can hear and tell you, one of the things that I predicted was the fact that they're going to destroy the Al-Aqsa Mosque with this wannabe bullshit coming out of Messiah with the red heifer that they got. Don't forget that. This is their ultimate goal in the Middle East. They're going to tear the shit up out of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. And once they do that, I can guarantee you every motherfucking wannabe white Jew is going to die. the Muslim community and the Muslim people in the Islamic faith is not gonna be tolerating that shit. They getting it in now. White folks are being killed left and right in Europe. Europe is not their home. We put them out and put them in Central Asia because white people, as we know them today, come from Dravidian albino. Don't you ever forget that shit. I don't give a fuck what else you hear. I'm telling you what the truth is. Check out my book, The White Man's Burden of Lies and Deceit, Book 1 and 2. Book 1 deals with us, available on Amazon. Book 1 deals with why white people hate black people so much. Ain't nobody covered that motherfucker like me. The whole book, I say damn near 1,000 pages in dealing with that. Book 2, The White Man's Burden of Lies and Deceit, Understanding White Supremacy, White Superiority. White supremacy and white superiority is an overreaction to black oppression. The black Turks, Mongol, Persian, all of these motherfuckers, they were taking pot shots at these bitches. Damn near killed them all, which they should have done. But no, they made a deal with Turkey. That's the reason why Turkey is so white now, because their slavery wasn't as brutal. You can be a slave and work your way up to be the head man of whatever the president of Turkey was at the time, or the Grand Poobah, or whatever the fuck it is. Real talk. And then they broke past the Hadrian Wall that was being protected by the Black Persian into our Holy Roman Empire and kicked out the papacy, which was black from the beginning, into France. And then we get into the war, 30 Years' War, 100-Year War, and all that. These were just race wars with our children. You know what I mean? So you got to remember that. You got to understand where the people come from. They come from black folk. And somewhere down the line, something happened. And you get the indication of that in the book called The Iceman's Inheritance. I would suggest very highly that you sit your black ass down and understand who you're dealing with, these motherfuckers. Read the book, The 48 Laws of Power and the 33 Strategies of War. Make it an internal understanding of how to deal with life in general and these motherfuckers. We just gotta kill them. We killed them, get them out of Egypt. We killed them, got them out of Greece. Now here we go again. 3 strikes you out, motherfucker. There's no talking anymore. 3 strikes you out. So let's continue.
Shout out to Neophyte Dog or Dag. He also has a lot of other good work on his channel. Go check him out. Black George Washington, the first official black president of the United States. Okay, so I kind of wanted to back up. I think I wanted to get, let's see, about right there. Let's see what he's talking about. Because he also went over the information that we went over with who Martha Cuttis Washington was, etc., etc. She was called the Dark Lady, how that was her second marriage, yada, yada, yada. We went over that in the Robert E. Lee video, because Robert E. Lee was married to the great-great-granddaughter of George Washington. So if Robert E. Lee was melanated, it would make sense that George Washington also was melanated. So, and the maid, Selena, who was dressed and decked to the nines in the picture taking of her that they claim that was a slave, and she was dressed to the nine, her daughters were dressed to the nine, was the one that saved the artifacts during the Civil War for the Lees of George Washington. So let's check out what Neophyte has to say.
Martha's child, her name was Martha Patsy Custis, was nicknamed the Dark Lady, just to give you a flavor as to where we're going to go with this. This is, again, another synopsis of George Washington, the first official president of the United States of America. We go to this book, History of the George Washington Bicentennial Celebration, Volume 1. This is where they document all the surroundings, all the history of George Washington, legend of George Washington, persona of George Washington. This is the book that documents all the historical facts about George Washington. So we go to page 225 of this book, The Man Himself, which is George Washington. Great similarities exist also in the word and the picture penned by those who met George Washington. So we want to establish that first. Full height, 6 feet 2 inches, ruddy complexion.
Hold on.
We're going to explain something really quick. We learned something really funny. Well, you did.
What is ruddy complexion? We'll get into that, but we'll stick up in there. Ruddy complexion. These are people who drew him, wrote about him. They're putting it about the man himself. Ruddy, of a red color, of a bright yellow color. That is ruddy, the meaning of ruddy. We'll go on to another book.
So just to pause, the people that think they are the end all be all and the masters of complexion, and you're making up your own rules, which is just beyond me. When did white people become known as dark complexion? Which has always been the opposite. They describe Caucasian / white people as fair skinned or fair complected. Ruddy, meaning red, in the melanated / black communities means we nickname that red bone or light skinned. Again, ruddy meaning red in the melanated / black community, we nickname that term red bone. It's also known as light skinned. All right, let's continue with the description.
Book. Stick a pin on ruddy. Martha Washington, First Lady of Liberty by Helen Bryan. Page 85 of that book. Martha, with her children and her fortune, married George. She was a rich lady as well. George had his own money. They came together. George, he was tall, just like what we have read. He's 6 feet 2 inches, with a ruddy complexion. Ruddy again, keep popping up. Let's figure out what ruddy is. We said it's red and of a yellow color. We'll go to another book, Mary and Martha, the mother and the wife of George Washington by Benson Lossing, LLD. Page 105 of that book. Washington was 6 feet. Everyone's coming back with the same height. His complexion was florid. What is florid? I mean, they keep giving us these complexion descriptions that we have no idea what they're talking about if we're looking on the surface. You're going to have to find the meaning of words once you come across them. Florid.
So let me just back up and shout out to Neophyte Dag. Excellent work. So again, this is his source. And the source that he listed before, I literally pulled that book as well. And it was there. Okay? So this one is Mary and Martha, the mother of the wife of George Washington by Benson J. Lossing, LLD. Note, this was in 1886. Notice the stamp. Library of Congress.
Boom.
Notice the stamp. Library of Congress. Okay? All right, so let's continue with this, and we'll give one other source, and then we're going to move on to someone else's work that documented George Washington's heritage as well.
About if we're looking on the surface, you're gonna have to find the meaning of words once you come across them. Florid, bright in color, flushed with red, a lively red. So we know he's of a reddish color. As he's ruddy, ruddy's telling you is red also. So ruddy red of a bright red color. That's the description for George Washington.
Hey, if you want to get rid of your beer belly in time for summer, check this out. Hey, Dr. Drew, do celebrities cut carbs to lose weight?
No.
Example.
Okay, so again, for folks that claim they know the description of skin tone in the Black community, ruddy or red is nicknamed red-boned or light-skinned.
Now I'm getting tired, but I'm gonna end it there. I already put this video in the chat. Yeah, I did. Hold on, let me check. Yeah, I put this in the chat already. So we're gonna close it out, and like I said, you can always look at these videos and learn your motherfucking history, please. Stop being bamboozled by these white boys that ain't shit. They done stole so much motherfucking money, it's insane. Over $50 trillion fighting wars. For what? Because they're stealing. This is all they do. They steal, lie, and kill. Nasty motherfuckers. They've always been nasty. They've always been thieving. They've always been deceptive. There's not an honest motherfucker amongst these motherfucking monkey ass tail growing bitches. And bastards. None are good. There are no good white folks. If they were good, they would get rid of the fucking bad ones and pay us our fucking reparations, bitches. So no, don't depend on these motherfuckers. Power is not given, it's taken. And this is the reason why Mother Africa is coming together. Now I'm here to tell you, I'm not playing. I'm not here to play, to lie to you, to skim, to connive, and do all this other fucking bullshit. I'm straight up with my fucking words. I don't bite my motherfucking tongue. I speak truth to power. I don't give a fuck about offending nobody. If they feel offended, fuck you. It's because you, bitches or bastards, want to believe what you want to believe. Now, I exploded the shit out of the NOI before with just one fucking video, but there's a lot of other video checks that went out too. The NOI killed Malcolm X. 39 fucking years old. I don't want to say goddamn, 4 fucking young girls that this man had out of fear, out of jealousy, that you fucking niggas in the NOI, the upper echelon of the motherfucker, killed this man and deprived him of seeing his children grow up, and the children, motherfucking wanna-be pedophile ass bitches, did this shit to him. Robbed this man of his children, of seeing them growing up and being influential with them. You know fucking well they wanted to see their father, but no. Pedophile ass Elijah Muhammad and that bitch ass nigga Farrakhan, who wanted to be number one, got rid of him. How cold blooded is that? This man, 39 fucking years old, 4 little girls, telling the NOI that was coming to kill him what happened, why he said this and did that and another. He was coming to plant a bomb in the car, so when he got in the car, the bomb would explode. And he explained, Malcolm X, what it was all about. He didn't kill him. But the atmosphere of hate, the atmosphere of jealousy, of envy, has really stanked up the NOI. Because they're still trying to deny this shit. I got a brother, the barber shop conversation, talking with Wesley Muhammad for 5 fucking hours. All you got to do is just show that one video of Malcolm X explaining to the brother of the NOI that, it's not necessary to kill me because this is the reason why I did this, that's the reason why I did that, the reason why I said this, and the reason why I said that. It's not true. And he didn't kill him. But the lingering thought, the atmosphere was still tainted with killing this man. 39 fucking years old. Are you fucking kidding me? There are a lot of good people in the NOI that are on the lower end of the scale there, I guess. But you upper echelon niggas waiting for Farrakhan to die, man, fuck you. Because anytime you get on the video trying to talk about, well, we didn't kill him. Nigga, fuck you. And all you motherfuckers. If you want to battle me on this motherfucking video of Malcolm X telling the world that the NOI was going to kill him by blowing up his fucking car, I'll pay you motherfucking $10,000 fucking dollars. You ain't got to pay me shit to try to circumvent that video, to try to deny that video. Man, fuck you. You ain't going to come up on this bitch. You're not going to come up on my show talking all that monkey ass bullshit. Because you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cuss your ass out. Plain and fucking simple, Malcolm X admitting to the fact that the NOI were trying to kill him. See, this is where disunity and distrust come from. And that really fucks me. All this B1 bullshit. You're not about that motherfucking life in the NOI, nigga. You're not. You're not no fucking B1, black first. So you know what I say? Take a straw, stick it in your ass, and drink the creamy brown shit out that motherfucker. Maybe one day you might wake up and realize to the situation that Malcolm X was killed by the NOI. There was no need for Wesley Muhammad to talk for five fucking hours with the barbershop conversation podcast. I forget the guy's name. And on top of all of that, I got a video of Muhammad Ali's wife saying that they stole millions of dollars from Muhammad Ali. And he didn't even know. From the purse of his boxing. You know what they bought? Furs and diamonds. Man, fuck you niggas. Fuck you niggas. I cursed you in the name of Islam, in the name of Muhammad. Man, fuck all you motherfuckers. Because all you bitches are doing is just fucking up money. What have you done to help black people? If you want to be so motherfucking black first, what the fuck have you done with hundreds of millions of dollars? Maintaining a mansion for Farrakhan? Man, fuck him. I ran into that bitch in the condominium building where my mother was living. And he was coming out and I was going in. And we stopped and I talked to him for about a minute. But I was just letting him know, man, I appreciate what you're doing and keep going. But I didn't really want to talk to him, not really. I'm not, I was a part of the nation for about 3 months. I was really young then, like 16, 17, somewhere around it. I tried Christianity for a minute. I tried Buddhism for a minute. I tried Taoism for a minute. But I always got to come back home to being the Jew that I am. And I'm proud of that. Because that African Hebraic way of life It's not a religion. It is a philosophy. It is a way of life. It is a way of life to help you find the way of life for you. When you go into Walmart, you don't want everything in that motherfucker. You only go in there and get what you want and get the fuck out. That's it. That's it. But I appreciate you guys who are here, and I really looking forward for tomorrow night at 8 o'clock sharp, because it's going to be one. We got some major Mother Nature disasters that's going to happen. Quick, fast, and fucking hurry. So make sure you guys stay tuned for tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. And like I said, I really appreciate you guys who are here. There ain't nobody writing shit, but I appreciate you guys. And like I always said, for the next 24/7, 365, stay black.